Welcome back, esports fans. Gilfrost here, and we are 2/3 of the way through this gauntlet of a night. It really only has one extra best of five, but they have been such good best of five so far, not what we necessarily expected. And you know what? It's made me suspend all expectations as I am really excited for this next matchup. We're going to be watching Immortals face off against Renegades. ZP, Hex, how are we feeling coming into this matchup?
Proving time for Immortals is where I stand on this, because Renegades was able to give a very good match to LG Evil just last night. So clearly for Renegades, even though they didn't have the staying power to bring it all the way through and win the 5th map, they've been playing pretty well on the whole. Immortals still having many question marks as to where they stand. It's been a rough tournament for them, but it's going to get much rougher if they're not able to take care of business and find a way to beat Renegades here tonight.
I completely agree. I think there's a lot at stake for both of these teams. I still have question marks about Renegades, where you said if it's a best of 3, of course, I think that's their jam. But it has looked like as the night goes on, as things get later, as we get into maps 4 and 5 particularly, maybe those just aren't maps that they're good at in the pools there. But they've started playing sloppier, playing a little bit undisciplined, a little too much freelancing going on. Mangachu has taken himself out of the fight several times. Same with some of their Genji plays that have happened as well. So I am wanting to buy Renegades because I think they're one of the only teams that can contest with LG Evil at a consistent level, but I still need to see more from them.
Yeah, and as far as contesting goes, just taking a look at the standings, they can contest with them maybe on an individual basis when you look at the games and matches. But right now, they can't contest with them in the playoff race. As far as they're not going to get first, or at least it's it's a stretch. I think technically there might be a way Renegades could get first. If
they have to win here tonight,
they'd have to win. They'd have to win the rest of their
games.
If
they lose, LG Evil locks in first seed.
Yes, and LG Evil then would just, and if LG Evil wins the rest of their games, boom, done. And two of those games anyway. One of them coming up is going to be against this team anyway. But no, the question we have though is Immortals, because Immortals now is going to be trying to play for getting out of this 4th spot, getting potentially into 3rd, and if they can find 2 victories against Renegades, or at least 1, and then a few other things happen, they could potentially even get into that 2nd slot. So there's a lot on the line here for Immortals, maybe a little bit less for Renegades here, but Renegades, they want to finish out strong. They don't want to be anywhere near that 3rd, 4th place range coming into this matchup. But let's take a look at the rosters. First, for Immortals coming into this one, we talk about consistency. This roster has stayed the same, but the play has not been consistent. As we look across this roster, where have we seen the biggest areas of inconsistency?
Well, I know that ZP has his own answer to this, so I'm not going to steal his answer for sure. I still have questions about Hyped with the combinations that they want to run. I think he is still best on D.Va. I think we've proven again you can run D.Va in this combination. It would give Grim so much space, which I also think is a secondary problem for them. But ZP, your answer is more interesting.
Well, I'm going to take a different approach, as you have sort of alluded to here. And I think that when you look at their matches in recent history, Nomi has had a very rough last 2 weeks or so, perhaps going back even further, because you look at when Immortals loses team fights, Nomi at times is pretty far out, oftentimes first to die, and if you lose your Reinhardt without getting a lot of value in return, or Winston when he's on Winston, you're going to find it very difficult to actually bring it back into the fight. So for Nomi, it's a case where I would like to see him play a little bit more disciplined, take less risks, and just keep himself alive longer in these fights, because right now, he's been sort of a Achilles heel for Immortals. I mean, it's interesting to talk about Hyped and where he may stand as a 3rd DPS, but how many opportunities is he getting if Nomi is getting bopped to start out a lot of these fights?
Yeah, and then we'll look at Juvenile when we go over their roster, because I think some of those same questions as far as Reinhardt consistency in play, well, Nami may be on a downtick. Juvenile is a little bit more up and down. But let's take a look at the player to watch here for Immortals before we move on too much. It is going to be grim reality coming into this one. And when you have so much on the line, you have to rely on your carries need to put on their carry pants. We'll just say it that way. And grim reality, he's been someone that we've wanted to step up in much bigger ways.
Well, he's been trying to put on his carry pants. He gets one leg in and he gets knocked over by the opposing team's tanks. They're just diving him that hard. He gets no room to actually operate. As much as you want to put it on Grim, he's become the focal point, and no one's done enough to make him secondary to what they're doing. Agilities hasn't done enough to make him the primary suspect you have to shut down. It's still been all on Grim, and I don't think it's really been fair.
I agree. And when you look at Grim, the reason why I don't put Grim much on blast is that you take a look at how this is going down with how heavily he's getting focused in all these fights where, I mean, we've actually observed matches where Grim is running from 3 people in the back more than one time over the course of a game. So he is clearly priority number 1. It's also why when we take a look at a team like LG Loyal, I don't throw too much shade Hedan's way because Hedan gets heavily focused even by Ana standards. So this is where, on one hand, you can go, maybe Grim should find a way around this. Maybe, but on the other hand, he's also facing far more heat than most of the DPS in the tournament right now.
Yeah, it really may come down to enabling Grim Reality as a team because we've seen that on Jake. Jake has played McCree, and he's got this diva to support him. He's got other resources that are being pulled for him. And even if you've got if you're pulling 3 resources away, you know, that's great in and of itself. But it only is great if you can do something on the other side, if Hyped and Agilities are now carrying for you on the other side, which hasn't been happening necessarily. But let's take a look at Renegades coming into this matchup because they are certainly, they have some similarities for sure, but let's take a look at their lineup coming into this one. Another lineup that has remained the same, and they've just been performing a little bit better with it. I guess the only difference now being Aiko coming in here. And this has given them a little bit more of a Genji player. But tell us a little bit about what you're seeing here on this lineup.
Well, I guess the big question for me coming into this is Mangachu will very likely be the point of attack for most other teams. They're going to run things to counter him, whether that's an affair of their own, whether it's anything else. Really, it's going to be up to Jesus on the ground when those fair wars will commence because Mangachu's going to take to the sky. I think Aiko has played reasonably well, but I don't have enough on him to know. But I know what Jesus is capable of, and his Tracer is extremely capable. I think that this team will go as far as he can take them.
Very likely. I mean, one thing that's worth knowing about Mangachu and overall success for Renegades is that if you can frustrate him enough to where he looks at what he's going and says, I don't want to go Pharah, I don't want to go Roadhog, and you put him on different heroes that he is known to play, like a McCree or 76, I actually think your odds of doing well versus Renegades go up tremendously. He doesn't play quite as safe on those heroes because you think about the heroes that he normally is playing. He's normally deep diving with a Pharah protected by natural elevation, being the sky, and having a Pocket Mercy. Or if you're on Roadhog, well, you're as close to indestructible as you get at points in the game, depending if you don't have a whole lot of pressure on you. But when you put him on a McCree or a 76, I think he goes too aggressive, and then oftentimes he gets punished as a result. So it's not even so much you want to be winning fights, but if you can win fights in such a way that Mangachu is getting off his intended game plan, with how much is pooled behind Mangachu, it's actually very good to your odds of winning the series.
Well, and that kind of gave it away. He is our player to watch. If Grim Reality is the one you look to as the one to carry you, well, Mangachu definitely is the one you look for on the side of Renegades. It definitely manifests itself in a little bit of a different ways, and we're going to see how Renegades is able to maybe enable him, but I would agree, he's like the guy that he will switch onto something. I mean, you almost never know. Maybe it's why Renegades is so exciting. Because he has a deep pool.
Well, that's the thing, is he will switch onto something maybe, but either way, if you're able to shut down his Pharah and he still runs it because he can be stubborn on it, you win that sense. If you're able to shut down his Pharah and he has to switch to something that isn't Pharah, you win in that sense. So he is the focal point in every aspect of it. And also, we've seen him shut himself down sometimes. He's just out of the fight. He's doing his own thing. And a lot of that, you wonder about the coordination and comms of this team because they seem crisp out the gate. Again, maps 4 and 5 are where this team starts to break down.
Yeah, that's much for Mangachu. It seems to be, as you mentioned, it's maps 4 and 5. It's later into the night where Mangachu just does truly perplexing things. I'm trying to think of like a very good analogy for it. I don't know if I want to compare it to a Pokemon that's not obeying orders at some point, just doing what it wants to do. But whatever it is, he goes off into La La Land sometimes and doesn't always come back.
I mean, the Pokemon references, I can definitely appreciate that. I was worried there that it was going to go too far into the anime world, but that's like right on their service. I can deal with that. King's Row is going to be the first map for this matchup as, I guess this is... I think this is Renegades' selection.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing again tomorrow, where Immortals will be the home team, but Renegades picking this one up. Why are we not going to Hollywood?
Well, Kings Row's been good for Renegades. It seems like a map that Mangachu's very comfortable on. Again, it seems to be he's the focal point, probably making a lot of these decisions for his team as well. He's very good on the Pharah defensively and offensively, runs it both on this map, and it sits in that window for the most part. So this is a map that I don't consider Renegades necessarily weak on. I think maybe going to Hollywood, he put Immortals more on blast of like where are they going to be okay at. But I think Renegades is a team that wants to play to their strengths rather than opponents' weaknesses.
No doubt about it. And I mean, going into Kings Row here too is that the very first point attack on Kings Row does give you a lot of room as Pharah to hide out when you move in the beginning. There's a lot of cover depending on how you want to go in. And all it takes is a really good leap in by, say, your Winston or your other flankers moving in to give Pharah plenty of room to just boost in with a concussive blast in the back and really have a pick of whatever targets you're there. It's one of the harder maps in the pool to actually deal with her with hit scan pressure early on. So it makes perfect sense as to why you would want to see Renegades come out here with the Kings Row pick.
Yeah, because on first, where do you go as a hit scan? I mean, because in the past, Immortals have really liked those chokes with a lot of open area for the McCrees, the soldiers, to hang out. And on Kings Row, you're kind of funneled back into the back. Either that or if you can somehow stay alive on high ground and push up to the front choke there by statue, maybe. But it's not what we've been seeing happen as we are going to be coming into game here in just a bit. But just to reiterate here, Grim Reality versus Mangachu. We talk a lot about these individual players, but a lot of this match is going to revolve around how these teams enable their damage dealers and how many threats they can come out with in a meta that is so needing. That teams are so needing to have multiple threats. Well, we're on Kings Row for game number 1 between Renegades and Immortals.
Well, Kings Row, third set of the night. Not something that was planned here, Hex, but due to power going out over the entirety of Detroit just last week. That is why we get 3 sets of Overwatch here tonight.
Well, I will never pile on to Michigan. They have enough of their own issues as a former Michigander, which I think is the right thing. Sounds like someone you'd look at, but Michigander. Yeah, Detroit, hopefully power is back up. The Detroit Renegades are back in this series, and I guess we just get bonus Overwatch. I guess we'll call it that. Over here on Kings Row, let's just pretend like we're starting a new day. We're on Kings Row, might as well.
Well, for starting a new day, I know daylight savings is pretty intense, but this is a really new standard here, Hex. I don't even remember the last 24 hours.
Yeah, it's been been a little bit hectic here and there. Unfortunately, as much as I praised Jesus in the pregame, I don't think he'll be running this Junkrat, and there it goes. Of course not. Praise be to the Tracer instead. That is on the attack. On the defense, though, they're running something pretty standard. Triple tank agilities will be taking up the mantle of Roadhog. Grim Reality on Soldier 76 instead. So pretty standard defense. Renegades, no surprise. Here comes Mangachu's Pharah.
What I would really like to see here is that I would like to see Ethan have a bigger focus in helping Grim Reality take down Mangachu. Now, the thing about Mangachu is that he's sneaky in how he goes about this. Oftentimes, if he knows he's getting focused, he'll let other people go in to create a distraction. But either way, we have the first fight here underway. Renegades looking for a way to distract and make that opening, but Sherlocky goes down to Agilities, who just walks forward in the beginning, and they're trying to punish him here, but the Bionade is late in getting on him. They're not able to finish off Agilities, and as a result, Immortals, they very clean first defense.
That's it. That's the fight. 3 picks right away. Aiko lucky to get out with his life. And back to the drawing board for Renegades. Meanwhile, Ethan did so much damage and healing, almost with a nano already.
So for Renegades here, they're going to be looking for the opportunity once more. And really, they're content to wait until they have ultimate to do this here, but they didn't get too much on the first push. So Immortals is really in a situation where they can build their ult economy and make things work out pretty well. But here comes Renegades rolling onto the point. Grim, though, coming in, potential after flank. Nano boost already in play here as Aiko goes down immediately to Ethan. And decisive Hex, to say the least.
Shut down completely. Mangachu will exact revenge onto Ethan eventually, but that is the only death that happens there. Sherlocky caught out late by Hyped with the Zarya. Speaking of that, Zarya very close to Graviton. Agilities has done work. Their ultimates are in favor of Immortals the longer this fight goes on. Offensively, about time to hit some of those DPS ults as well. Mangachu, Aiko, Jesus, all about ready with their ultimate abilities.
And this is going to be make or break for Renegades. Not as much time left as it like as Jesus finds Hyped. There will be no Graviton in this fight here for Immortals. They didn't get a chance to fully build it up. 2 unanswered kills set up by that Pulse Bomb, and they're not stopping. Jesus picking up another 3-1 in favor of Renegades here. And now for Immortals, they don't have that much time to give. If they're going to contest this, they need to get the point now.
No,
I think they're giving it up.
You can't contest this at uneven numbers, especially when their opposing team is running a Zenyatta too. You're just going to get discorded and deleted.
To Immortals' credit, I feel like Immortals even a few weeks ago might have rolled the dice there to try to do that. They are not known for their really restraint in trying to contest. So for them, that's actually improvement.
Definitely, it would not have worked out well for them. As I mentioned, there's Zenyatta here, but we have Mangachu setting up a giant barrage behind. Thinks better of it.
He's creeping. He really wants to go for it here, hoping he has the opportunity.
Did they not see them?
Like a falcon in the sky, coming in over the top. Gets one, gets two. Mangachu sneakily able to come in from the back line and opens the door wide for Renegades, as they're going to be able to push this through most of second.
I could have sworn they saw him, the Lucio, but I guess not, unless they just decided to forget about it. And my theory that Mangachu was afraid of heights still holds.
What they thought they saw was actually just swamp gas reflecting.
Thank you, United States Navy unidentified flying object reports. They are going to be pushing it, getting a little bit of poke damage up here, but that is pretty much won them Streets phase already. Grim's going to try to roll up top here with the 76, taking some of this high ground, making sure to pressure it down, misses that Helix onto Jesus, but it looks like they want to get a little aggressive on this defense, following the Diva in. Earthshatter comes down, doesn't get much. Aiko will pay the price for it.
Well, Aiko is going to be the main one that pays for it, and it's not a bad opening here for Immortals. I mean, it's just one, but this is going to give them the power if they want to go back in, but the counter Earthshatter is in from Juvenile. Don't think it hit enough as Grim now coming in off the flank, flanking Nanovisor. Some of the best position you can have for this, as he just easily mops up two. Even had Diva protecting him from the Roadhog towards the end.
Yeah, the hook did come in, but not enough to deal with a boosted visor there. And now they're going to be able to pick whichever position they want. They should probably still hold this high ground back here, but now the peeking is going to be available for them on the defense. The last thing that opened up the offense greatly before the barrage, mind you, as Mangachu was off of the Pharah, was Jesus' Pulse Bomb. He's got it ready again. Aiko's been quiet this game, and that's a nice way of saying it, but he's getting close to his Dragon Blade.
Jesus right now holding on to the Pulse Bomb. We'll see if he can get the early pickup here. He's going without a whole lot of help from the rest of his team, but did it stick? No, it hits the Reinhardt shield instead, just slightly off, and that difference could mean the fight here, as they're not going to be able to get too much damage on the Nomi early on here. Immortals, for now, holding strong. Nomi has the Earth Shatter built up. Whole Hog up now for agilities. He drops the Earth Shatter, knocks at least one, if not two. So here comes Aiko in the back line. Dragon Blade is out, and he takes a nap, and then takes a permanent nap as Grim Reality takes him right out.
Immortals holding strong with all of these tanks. A lot of beef on the cart. Beef slammed into the wall, though, as Grim takes a blind charge from Juvenile. Here comes a pulse bomb from Jesus, who's got it back up, thinning out the herd as Agilities goes down. They're going to Desperation Nano hyped here to try to put some time on this cart, but Athan goes down. In the meantime, it is only hyped up to contest. Going to be difficult for him. This should be Renegades taking second point.
Hex, you could even say that Renegades is milking their advantage here. I mean, we made so many beef and herd jokes here. Let's just go full bore.
Hey, well done, board. All right, as they took it second here, Juvenile with the Earth Shatter ready, Mangachu also with it. They have a huge ultimate advantage on this offense as they're going to look to push forward here. Going to open up with the Whole Hog, pushing them back in the positional advantage. Any kill is just gravy on top. They do not end up finding it. Agilities faces life for it. Aiko goes down again. A giant Earth Shatter follow-up, not necessarily there right away, but a couple.
Well, Juvenile's known for gambling on his Earth Shatters, but he is rolling sevens right now, and I don't mean the type on the craps table, so definitely working out in his favor.
Definitely looking good there. Grim Reality has switched off from 76. He spent a brief life on McCree, now on the Desperation Bastion, trying to crack these shields. And Roadhog right in his face. The Bionade goes down. Mangachu falls.
That's not Mangachu on the Bastion, it's Grim. So Grim coming in for a little bit of a last moment attempt to hold, and things looking pretty rough here for Immortals as they try and keep Renegades back. Agilities taking that long fall there towards the end. Renegades almost having this, just need just a little bit more. And no, speaking of Bastion, the Omnic War was merely delayed. Skynet returns. I don't even know what you want to call this here, but Mangachu coming back in, looking to apply pressure from the backline, perhaps inspired by Grim Reality, bring him back to his roots, and he just chews through Nomi there. Very little he could do in that situation.
Well, it's a very good hero for closing out this last point. You just have to watch both of the doors and get as much damage in as you can, cracking shields and making sure that the time to kill is very low. Mangachu will go down eventually to Agilities, but that's the only kill in the kill feed. Agilities goes down eventually. Renegades will finish out King's Row with 1 minute and 13 seconds left in the clock.
And that shot from Nomi just a little bit too late. Didn't hit enough people to really turn it anyways before people go, he didn't get on the card. It's like, well, his lifespan will have been measured in seconds.
So. Trust. If someone makes a mistake not getting on the cart, you can trust us to alert you.
We will tell you. We call it the Spree early warning system.
Oh, we do now anyway. All right, well, 113 left. The win condition straight out of the gate for Renegades is to stop Immortals from completing the map. Otherwise, we'll see on the other half of things how things go there. Any surprises coming out from you there, or was that how you expected the first half of King's Row to go, ZP?
I mean, as far as it went going in, I will say that it is a troubling trend of Immortals really struggling to hold things back. I mean, they did drain plenty of time off the clock, but on the same note, it did feel like Renegades was in control for most of the game, and it's troubling for Immortals because it started out the tournament weaker than expected, and we thought they'd turn the corner, but they've really struggled to turn the corner, and this is still very much a winnable map for them here. I mean, 1 minute 13 is hardly the end of the world, but I don't think that Immortals is necessarily where they want to be right now.
Immortals does seem to still struggle, regardless of the map, and this is why we brought up Hollywood as a map they struggle on. But after first is over, it seems like their defense is aimless, that they don't necessarily know where they want to hold, how they're going to hold. When things devolve, and they're not straight up 6-on-6s, and it gets a little scrappier. It's where Immortals struggles, but their first couple defenses worked very well. They got first kills. They were able to hold for a decent amount of time, but once the plan goes out the window, the improvisational skills of Immortals not quite up to snuff.
It's just been a rough few weeks for them, to say the least.
Yeah.
And Renegades right now, I really do like where they're set here for taking this map. Now you take a look at their defense here. Again, they're going to let Jesus roam free, be his own human being here, so to speak, and the rest of it is going to be centered around defending the point with Mangachu looking for hooks. So again, for Immortals, the real test here is what do you do to frustrate Mangachu, the getting off Hog and getting off Pharah?
That is always the question. Grim has been on this 76. He's going to rotate around. Shield Wars in full effect. A giant charge comes through from Juvenile. Takes down Ethan. You live by the charge, you die by the charge. They do end up with 3 kills onto Immortals. They're only paying Juvenile in turn.
You know, that worked out for Renegades, but that really could have not worked out for Renegades. That was a very juvenile play, so to speak. High risk, high reward, but
they're an aggressive team.
If he had failed the charge or the person in question had gotten shielded and protected, that would have been a disaster. So I'm still looking at that somewhat skeptically. But next fight is underway. Mangachu coming in off the flank from the hotel, looking for the early hook. But it's going to be Grim here in the back. Now on the McCree is bread and butter, no longer on 76. And he finds Juvenile early on, so 2-1 in favor of Immortals. And Grim, not done yet, going for the high ground here. They got moving as he pops Jesus to start this out.
It's just dirty when Grim gets going on this McCree. It is the hero that we associate with him most. Hype with the cleanup on the ground level, but that's because a lot of beautiful headshots coming in from Grim there. He's going to hold down the high ground, make sure no one's going to contest this point. That is Immortals capping first point of King's Row. They have 5 minutes on their clock. Again, they have to finish this map if they don't want to go down a map to Renegades.
Nothing else, Hex. Grim really loves it when opponents keep their head in the game.
He does. He does. I got nothing. So, hyped as is Graviton up as they round this corner. Graviton in Streets phase of King's Row, synonymous in team wipes. Ica will use the grab. Hype just behind, Hype trying to get in there too. They trade out a little bit though. This is definitely going in favor of Immortals right now, in large part because Grim was able to take out Mangachu under a lot of pressure in the backline. Grim staying alive, just barely 1 HP.
1 HP is all you need. Your weapon still hits for full damage. He's going to get the health back and come back in and takes down Jesus again. The thing I like about the McCree pick here is that realistically, if you take a look at where Renegades has been doing really well, Jesus has been the silent hero. We do talk about Mangachu a lot, but he's been the glue behind it that still gets contribution even as so much is poured into Mangachu. Well, right now, his contribution is slowing to a trickle because of Grim Reality just shutting him down with very solid McCree play.
Well, the Earth Shatter comes in, hits nothing. Now Nomi's going to be looking for his own Earth Shatter in turn. He has it set up. Sound Barrier has gone down on both teams. There's the Earth Shatter. The shield not up quickly enough to save everyone. No follow through exactly there yet. Nomi in a little bit of a rough spot here. Still trying to get work done on the back line is Grim.
Grim is in the back here, and again, this is anti-Jesus duty more so than anything else, and he did land one shot, I believe, early on, which led to Agility's being able to finish that off. So 3 kills now here for Grim, effectively, well, 2 and an assist. And now, this is just, again, going very much in favor of Immortals, and for now, I feel like Renegades is forgetting one of the concepts of dealing with Immortals, which is dogpile on Grim.
That does seem to be the strategy that works best for them. You had all this great analysis of why you like Grim on McCree. Let me give you mine. He's real good at McCree. He's a good cowboy. It's his best hero by far, in my opinion.
You say that like he's a dog. It's like...
He's a good McCree. Who's a good McCree? Who wants a headshot? Well, he's been playing great on it, and now he's even in a section of the map that favors a McCree, which is why you see Jesus come out. Jesus, no slouch on the cowboy himself. We'll see who wins this duel, but Deadeye going to be up for Grim Reality. They're going to try to probably combo it with Earth Shatter if they have their druthers here.
We'll have to see, but it is high noon coming out here. Grim Reality giving the announcement because he's just that kind of gentleman and finds Aiko. Aiko through the gap, gets domed by the Deadeye, and oh, this is getting bad to worse here. Nomi dropping the Earth Shatter, leading the 2 kills right off. Jesus dying on that gunslinger. Electric Cowboy, I don't think necessarily needed here, but hey, 2 shots on the Roadhog in the corner. Mangachu looking for anything here as the rest of his team just getting plowed through right now.
It is the Grim Reality world. We're just living in it right now. The Graviton will come in, clump those people up, making headshots even that much easier as Grim continues to pile on. Aiko goes down. Jesus finally responds, gets a Deadeye kill onto Hyped Verbo, looking for the boop. It has been all Immortals in this final push. They complete it with a bit better than 2 minutes more than Renegades. So Immortals coming out ahead on the time.
So clearly, in between rounds, someone told Grim Reality that McCree was not actually banned here in the Overwatch Carbon series because realistically, you look at the Immortals that we saw back in the winter premiere, and you look at the Immortals that we've seen here in now almost 4 full weeks of Carbon series play, there's been a real lack of McCree coming out from Grim Reality, and usually when he does it, does pretty well. He's not going to trust in it on defense here, unfortunately, but I do wonder when's the point where you just keep throwing it out until the other team deals with it effectively.
That's what I would do, but I'm not as smart as the guys on Immortals there. It does seem like Immortals, though, has a tendency to outthink themselves. I feel like they want to play a certain way that is maybe not defined by what they think is best, but I don't know. That's why my simplistic evaluation of it was he's a very, very good McCree. Play McCree. It's your best hero. Play McCree. Doesn't get much more than that. He will play 76 on this defense, so a little more standard pick, a little more self-sustain. He requires a little less babysitting for sure, able to run away and able to sit in those windows by himself, but if all else fails, I'd like to see him go back to the McCree. He's pretty good at it. I don't know if you saw the last round. He was hitting headshots.
Well, the interesting thing here is that Jesus is opening on the Diva. I think part of this is that he is expecting Grim to be on the McCree, but I'm curious to see if he just swaps off the Diva rather quickly when he realizes that it's a soldier that's trying to have him in his sights as opposed to a McCree that's announcing the clock in a very loud fashion.
Well, Diva can be very good at shutting down Soldier, too. I think the plan is we have to shut down Grim no matter what he's on. Grim could be playing Hanzo right now, and they'd still devote 2 resources to him. Not that Hanzo is bad. Anyway, they're going to rotate onto the point. Aiko showing up finally takes down Ethan here as the Immortals not looking so good right now. Nomi does come in, takes out his counterpart in Juvenile.
This is awkward, though. The positioning for Immortals has been completely disheveled here, but this is where no one's on Grim, so maybe he can pull it back, but he's quickly losing bodies to distract for him on the ground. Renegades just taking it way too cleanly. Mangachu, a big part of that, winning that fight versus Agilities. And maybe Grim can bring it back here, but again, Verbo's going to go down. Now it's almost just about down to Grim, who no longer is getting free pokes back.
No, and he should be running back towards his team. If he pops out of this window, I'll be very surprised. No longer can they defend over there. They give up the Ghost, which is first point. Now it is overtime as the slowest garage in all of London begins to open.
Well, no one said driving in London is particularly a fun experience. You might think that the streets on King's Row are just small for a video game. No, streets in London, pretty small. But here comes Joldy. He's going for the whole hog. Not going to get much out of it at all here in the defense. Goes into the building, ends up dying as a result. 5v5, though, has created enough of distraction that Grim is able to take down Mangachu. So the rest of the Immortals, they want to stop this EMP bomb right here, right now. And by swarming onto it, they have a decent opportunity. But here comes Attack Visor from Grim, looking to finish it off. Going up against the sound protection of Lucio in the sound barrier. Late Graviton for Immortals. They only get one from it, and still Renegades respawns coming in. They're finding a way of delaying this out, but for how long can they do this?
They need to start getting kills in that kill feed. Mangachu does pop in, takes down Hyped there. The respawn time for Immortals is going to be very difficult to get back to this card, so they just need to get a couple of kills. They are finding them. Mangachu and Juvenile combined for 3, and now this is going to be a lot of free push happening on the card because of that very defensive, or very offensive defensive gamble.
We were in overtime for a very long time there, and unfortunately for Immortals, they're not able to finish it out.
Well, this is where the long walk begins. Might as well stick on Grim. He's got a sprint up, but they're still not even going to be able to get back towards second point. Got to be careful of Juvenile. Juvenile, very hit or miss in his Earth Shadow, trying to set one up.
Well, he's looking for the shot, and it's a big hit. It's a home run, in fact. 5 people knocked down, gets the charge on the Ana. You can't ask for a bigger moment of dropping the hammer, and it doesn't just drop the hammer, Hex. It drops Immortals' win chances on this map, potentially below levels that they are going to be able to deal with.
Juvenile's that slugger mentality. If you want to hit home runs, you have to deal with the strikeouts too. That is a home run right there, knocking down 3, getting to the second point. All of this happening in overtime in Streets phase, looking to close out this map. This is a night of crazy overtimes. Mangachu on the Bastion, because you know what? Why not?
Hey, finish out with style, moving right in, looking to get Nomi, and Nomi has another idea. Swings the hammer right in his face instead. Graviton comes in from Renegades, but is poorly thought out. I think it was trying to protect Mangachu. A counter Earthshatter by Nomi. Yikes. Well, if Juvenile hit a home run, Nomi certainly just hit at least a triple there towards the end.
Yeah, here I am trying to lay down a bunt. Well, that is the cart finally getting stopped there, as that is the progress that they have. That is the marker that needs to be beat for Immortals. Otherwise, Renegades will be taking our first map of our 3rd set of the evening in bonus Overwatch. And that's their path to victory right there. Not very easy, because it means they have to win about 2 fights once they get first point, but they've got more time to work with.
All right, so you take a look between both teams. It's kind of misleading, though, because, yes, Immortals has 3 minutes and 19 seconds, but Renegades got so much in their overtime push that it very arguably more than equalizes it. So if we were going at the idea that Immortals had a big advantage because of round 1 and 2, where they built up that time lead, well, you can pretty much kiss that goodbye. The very best you could argue would be equal, but even then, I'd say that you look at how long it takes for teams to get the payload to where they're trying to get it here, it's almost certainly a small Renegades advantage now.
I would tend to agree. Renegades just wants to play defense, which is why you see this in the composition. We talked about the depth of Mangachu's hero pool. It goes pretty far down. He has a lot of heroes a lot of people don't play a lot of, Mei being one of them. Used to be a staple, Mei on first point of King's Row. Cut them off as they try to come in, so it might catch Immortals off guard a little bit. Agilities, fires a Sonic Arrow, but he'll switch right on to Roadhog instead. So Shield Wars commence. It seems Immortals wants to rotate up through top Hotel.
It is worth noting, of course, Mangachu is on the Mei, and Mei's effectiveness here in first, very much dependent on that first ice wall. Can you split off the enemy team? And it's going to depend a lot on that. If Mangachu throws up the wall and it's not perfect, if it doesn't split, it's going to mean that Renegades probably loses his fight pretty severely. So he's the one to watch here. How is the split going to go down here with this wall? Doesn't have a great opportunity here, and he's going to throw it out to try and get Reinhardt killed here. Will Reinhardt fall as a result? Yes, Nomi is split off, so the wall is successful, and Mangachu has done his job here on Mei, but in reality, coming in off the flank, they did not account for this.
No, Grim alone up top. I don't know how many times we have to say it. I believe I promised I was going to get a tattoo of saying you can't leave Grim alone on the high ground. Proof is in the pudding right there, and Sherlocky and Jur go down in short fashion towards the end. Grim Reality won that first point for them quite easily.
Hex, if you're going to go all out and get that tattooed, which would be a rather long tattoo, just make sure you have a small illustration of a grilled cheese somewhere near.
I'm just gonna make sure I get it in Japanese characters and that they tell me it means strength. That's what I'm going to go with. Probably on my lower back. We'll see how everything turns out. Agilities goes in for the hook, does end up grabbing Juvenile there. This is cart time, but look at this. They have 2 minutes to push, not even in overtime.
Oh my God, Agilities, please. They have families.
Not anymore.
Not May,
don't.
though. And May. No one really cares. But other than that, they have families.
That robot she carries around with her is crying right now, and little blizzardy, slushy tears rolling down his face. But that is a brutal fight happening post-point capture. Mangachu will have Blizzard, which should be able to, at the very least, slow it down, let his team get back in here. But they need to be aggressive on this, in my opinion, for Immortals. Use Grab before Blizzard comes out. Use Whole Hog. Use Tac Visor. Use your ults to win this fight. Do not react to the ults Renegades are going to bring to you.
You don't want to slow play this here, not when you're so close, but the hook comes in. The shield is able to save it. Grim, though, kind of forces Attack Visor. Most of it blocked out by the wall. It's a very nice wall to stop that, and yet Mangachu still bites the dust at the very end. 3 kills here from Immortals. Make it 5. It's a full team wipe here, Hex, and Immortals well on their way to finishing this out. One good push deserves another, and they're not even in the overtime yet.
Another barrier stands in their way. One of the most frustrating things is that they have to wait for a moment, but they're setting up Nomi on this Earth Shatter flank Sound Barrier will be able to come into.
Nomi right now could have the dagger, sneaking, that's a crouching Reinhardt. No, he decides he's gonna come back into the fight. Gets walled up there. I think that actually caused him to whip the Earth Shatter, so inadvertently a phenomenal wall. And it's getting chilly here on the point. Remember, there's only 20 seconds left. There's not that much time here for Immortals, so they're looking good, but now they're looking quite dead.
They're going to try to reset. They're going to try to reset here. They cannot afford this hook that just happens onto Grim there. The spawns are close that they really wanted to reset. Now not going to be able to get bodies on the cart, dying way too late. Graviton will come in.
How far are they going here? They don't want to suffer the back cap, which certainly Verbo is going for, but they catch him just in time. Overtime, ticking down. They do get on it one more time, but suddenly Renegades taking full control of this. Grim Reality on Genji of all things here. Looking for a miracle, him and Nomi on the cart, trying to look for anything, but no, he's gonna find Sherlocky's bio rifle instead. 3 kills. Renegades going to finish it out at the very end, and I gotta say for Nomi, I understand what he was looking for there, but he got caught out, and then he drops the Earth Shatter on top of the wall.
Yeah.
In a rough position, so they throw it away. They don't have shield protection. They lose the last fight when they really still had a lot left in the tank.
The flanking Earth Shatter got spotted out early enough, and in that moment you want to pull back. Juvenile, the slugger himself, this was probably the giant Earth Shatter. No, this is just cleanup, I think. Well, either way, very effective. There's an Earth Shatter, there's a wall. What do you think of May there? I mean, he's still kind of lukewarm on it, because they did, technically they won, but was it because of the May?
I guess I would say the May was more neutral. I'm not really in love with it and where it happened. I think that they caught somewhat of a break in regards to Grim Reality, sort of panic tactical visoring at the end, which only led to 1 kill there, which is more than he probably deserved with the ice wall blocking it out. It definitely did not seem that great early on, where on one hand, he did get the block-off kill he was looking for. On the other hand, they also didn't have many options to go back and deal with Grim as he went in over the top and did his thing. So I can't say I was sold on the May, but it certainly didn't cost them the game either.
Yeah, well, and the thing is we also, because, you know, it was a good Blizzard at the end there, but how good was it? Because it was really just coming off of a questionable Earth Shatter on top of an ice tower.
See, these are caster terms we use. We say questionable. It was a bad Earth Shatter.
It was a bad
Let's be specific.
Well, you're on the desk now.
And maybe bad. I mean, because it seemed like he was in that mode where, you know, he was already in the air by the time he was casting it. And it's hard to say whether or not he could have, undid what he did. But let's just take a look at a few things that happened in this map. But I actually want to go to something we've seen in every single match so far. We've seen a little bit more Zenyatta. Do you think that that's something that teams are practicing more for the future, or is this, why are we seeing more of it?
I've always been of the opinion that Ana mains always wanted to play Zen. You just had to play Ana because she was so good. But I think part of it is practicing for the future. I think when you run it in compositions, especially with perhaps a Roadhog, and you get the first kill, he's one of the few snowbally support heroes. As we talk about, Genji's a snowballer. Zenyatta's the same way. When you're at 6v5, Discord delete, and that's how you end up rolling over in fights.
I mean, Zen is very good. I mean, the other thing I'd argue here, too, is that when you're seeing comps that run more DPS heroes, Zenyatta with, say, a Genji has always been great. it's very good because not only are you marking targets that Genji can dive in on and do 30% more damage to, but you're also healing the Genji, which really makes his deflect that much better because, say, he takes a little bit of poke damage. Now he's deflecting. Now he's getting healed by Orb of Harmony the entire time. So overall, I mean, I think Genji has probably been underplayed somewhat, and that's only because Ana creates a very large shadow in the competitive community where you have to make a big case to not run Ana.
Well, and I mean, it seems like maybe there are some changes coming to Ana and Zenyatta. So I definitely think we're going to see more of Zenyatta coming up in the future. But in the very near future, I'm curious to see, and even looking into the past, we talk about McCree, and I think that it could be very easily argued. No, McCree did a lot more this time, and Grim Reality was able to really utilize it in ways we haven't seen in this event, but we have seen in previous events. And I want to harken back to the first time we saw it on Eichenwald against Complexity. They were running it with 3 DPS, so it was a part of a 3 DPS setup. But this time, and we've been seeing more of this, we've been going back to that 3 tank. How does it work better with a 3 tank setup versus the 3 DPS setup we saw earlier this season?
Well, I mean, you can protect the McCree better. There was clear points if you could throw a D.Va in the mix and have the D.Va defense matrix in front of Grim Reality. Well, you're helping shore up one of McCree's weaknesses, which is that McCree is not known for being fast. I mean, Cowboys clearly not known for their speed. Definitely not to enhance super soldiers like 76. So for the danger there is that people like diving on Grim Reality because he is such a big threat, and you put him on McCree, you're doubling that threat because it's harder to get him out of those dangerous situations. But you run something like a D.Va in there, you can protect him a little bit better and actually change what would be a dive that kills Grim Reality into a foolhardy attempt that results in the divers actually dying.
It's a symbiotic relationship, too, because you're sitting with your backline, you're sitting with your supports, and you're protecting the supports. Supports are protecting you. If you're a Tracer and you go back there and you see a McCree and an Ana, and they're one blink away from you going in, you're not going in. You're going back to spawn, and you're switching off of Tracer, is essentially what we saw happen at Jesus there, too. So that's why McCree can work better in those comps.
Well, there's also the thing, too, where it's just like you notice, wait, he was back there, and I still died, and that happens multiple times. Of course, kill cams aren't on for the players during all of this, but it's still, you have a general idea where the McCree is, and you think, oh, this is reasonably safe. No, it's not.
No, it's not. You've got hooks and bubbles and defense matrices. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd be curious to see if they use it on Temple of Anubis as we're going into that map right now. And while Immortals was able to utilize McCree in ways they haven't, they weren't able to utilize it to get victory as Renegades are up 1-0 in the series. Take it away here on Temple.
Well, Temple of Anubis. And for Immortals here, Hex, this is where they would really just love to pick this up and get that 2-0 lead to begin with, because then if Renegades were to win the series, they would have to win it in 5. And, well, let's just say that Renegades does not have a very good track record of going to map number 5. So Immortals, they have buffer room here, but man, would it be great for them if they were able to take this here on Anubis.
Well, Renegades does not want to go to maps 4s and 5, so they want to close things out as quickly as possible, as it's even later for them than normal, too. So definitely a lot on the line here as we enter into Assault, which is our second game type map. Been to a lot of Anubis, so we had a brief jaunt at Hanamura earlier this evening. On the attack first is going to be the Immortals trying to attack into the hardy defense of Renegades here. Renegades, it's going to be interesting to see what Mangachu ends up playing. I think we talked a little bit about how his 76 is not his best hero, was one way to say it. So they're probably going to run him, yeah, it looks like they want to run him on the Roadhog instead. If you have to rank Mangachu's heroes, it's Pharah, but, you know, it's a very distant second is Roadhog, and then everything else is even a further distant third, in my opinion.
It's like one very tall mountain, one reasonably tall mountain, and then...
May. Set nade does hit everyone as they exit spawn. We're seeing a lot more of the set grenade launches here from the Ana players. Of course, Sherlocky, the one who chucked that over the top, gives himself a quick 22%. Dive composition in full effect for Immortals, hyped on that D.Va. They're running 2 dive tanks, 2 dive DPS, and a Zenyatta.
And Immortals really isn't taking too much time here for subtlety. They are very much going quickly. And oh my goodness!
That's filthy.
The shuriken just directly locked on Jesus' head. Goodbye. Good night. And now they don't have to worry about that Tracer pulling heroics here at all. Immortals in a great position here to just rip this Anubis wide open.
Mangachu scaring all of the cooldowns out of agilities. Use deflect, use dash to try to get away from the hook that never ended up hitting. That hook will hit Hype as Hype goes down. Mangachu gets on a roll.
Mangachu ends up picking up 2, so just when you think Immortals are doing well and they have things going on, well, Mangachu gonna eat the explosion, but now it's Jesus back to fight, is already taken down 2. Perhaps a little bit angry over getting scumbagged by shurikens to the head that early on in the game. So that's a nice comeback there from Renegades. I mean, that's a rough beat to actually come back from. That isn't something where Jesus was playing bad. It's just, it was a nice prediction by Agilities and things went his way. So it does mean that he's going to get Dragon Blade up earlier than normal. Moving in. Bionades on him. He's not going to get healed during this, but effectively has grabbed 1 already. 5 versus 5 here in the point. Immortals taking another crack at this. A lot of speed in this dive drop.
Ethan might come in here for a transcend, but I think he is tired of getting bucked on by these tracers in the back lines because he just got chucked down early before that fight even started. Hyped and Agilities combined for a couple. Ico trying to bring him back, does take down Verbo, but for the most part, the numbers on this point are all Immortals. Grim is able to take down Ico, who was one of the last remaining threats. There goes Jesus. As I mentioned, Ethan will stay on this Zenyatta, at least for Transcendence. It's not necessarily, I think of all the Ana players, I think Ethan, as one of the most pure Ana players, has played it more than some of the Zenyatta players, but he's going to have Transcend. You're not in position going into second to be able to throw away ultimates.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, on one level, they misjudge and think that they have the advantage. They could just Transcend and try and do it because it is somewhat of an ultimate that can bully things out, but it would probably be foolhardy. And Ethan right now in deep trouble. He does not panic Transcendence, which is a good move, but it does mean that this push is already over and Renegades gets a little bit of breathing room.
Mangachu throws down his whole hog, not the biggest of deal given the amount of damage that Roadhog can do. Juvenile will take out Nomi on the end as the stagger comes in a little bit late. Time to reset here for Immortals. They are getting those DPS ultimates up. That is not a reset, Mr. Agilities. That is a late death. They're going to have to wait for him to get back. When he gets back, he will have Dragon Blades, so they could throw a lot of ultimates into this next fight.
There's a lot of options for Immortals here, and actually take a look at Renegades. They don't have the information we do, of course, but oh, there's a late swap on the Torb. That means Mangachu's ult has been reset. This is really Immortals' best window. We'll see if they make the most of it, but if they go into Transcendence and Agilities is able to take down 1 to 2 with the Dragon Blade, they really have a strong ability to take point B here. Here comes Agilities, Dragon Blade out. We don't have to wait to see how this is going to go down. It goes down now. Slicing it to the backline. Sword versus Hammer. Able to get Ico. Doesn't pick off the Reinhardt, but does force him way back. 2 unanswered kills here by Immortals. Now they have thrown a lot of their ultimates into this fight. Is it going to be enough? They have yet to lose a single person.
They've thrown everything into this. Already 1 tick on the board. Mangachu down, got juggled in the corner. Hyped is now adding into it as well. 2 ticks across the board. Ults are still up here as Grim Reality holding onto his, waiting for the prime target to show itself. They're going to take down the dancing Lucio up top. Almost there.
They almost have it, and it's capped just like that. Very quick, very much not any stall coming out from Renegades there. They just died way too quickly for them to be able to pull that out. So Renegades, not only do they finish out here on Anubis, or Immortals, not only do they finish out here on Anubis, but they do it with 4:15 remaining. That's a fantastic time.
That is a very quick time. Really nice theory and how to go in there too. They bifurcated the point. They sent 1 ult to the right. That was Agilities. Wasn't ideal because he just ran into 2 tanks over there. Was able to get some slashes going on. Sent Winston to the left, had him pop his ult. He was able to deal with Mangachu. Anyone who was able to get past those 2 ran into the funnel in the middle. So a very well-planned attack from Immortals to use their ultimates to great effect, which is why they have 4:15 left in their time bank.
So this applies quite a bit of pressure to the Renegades, where for Renegades, barring the swiftest of attacks, they know that no matter what, they're fighting just to stay in this and they won't have a time bank advantage in all likelihood. So when you think about when they get down to, say, their final 2 minutes attacking last, their options of winning this game cleanly really get rather grim, to say the least.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm not even trying to make the puns here, but I think for Renegades now, they're going to be very thankful if they can have this with just a draw, if nothing else. That I'm not saying you make that as like, all right, guys, let's draw it out, but that's probably the most likely scenario for Renegades to get out of this without going down 2-0.
Assault has not been a great mode for them, regardless. So they're going to look for a dive-ish composition, and just as I mentioned the other day, it's good to see more Zenyatas in the dive composition. It's a part that was always included in earlier dive compositions, but Ana's been so strong, people forgot about Discord and its dismay. Jesus, Ico going to be the flankers in that comp. Mangachu over the top. of course, will be on Pharah. So a very aggressive composition. Defensively, they are running 3 tanks, 1 DPS, and 2 supports.
Well, the interesting thing here for Immortals and their defense is that it is going to put a lot on Ethan and Grim to deal with Mangachu here, and they need to combine their powers to deal with it. If it's just one going after it, it's probably not going to be enough, and this is the route that Mangachu always takes. He goes in through the left building and then comes around from the side, but the problem is that if he's not in tune with the rest of his team, the front line can die before he gets there, which is why Juvenile went down. But both Winstons actually out of this fight as Mangachu sneaks to the back, takes down Grim, and this might be all but over before it begins. It's going to be very difficult to actually deal with Mangachu now that Grim is out of this fight entirely.
No pure answers to him as long as he stays airborne. Should have his Reign of the Skies. Does drop down just to say hello to the Reinhardts.
No, doesn't happen. That would have been fitting punishment.
He's hitting mid-airs too. I mean, these aren't like super impressive mid-airs. People are generally 3 or 4 feet off the ground, but he is hitting direct shots, which is where the bulk of the giant damage comes from Pharah. Splash is a bit overrated, and Mangachu running wild on that first point. They could rush this very quickly. Bomb is up, barrage is up, res will very likely be up nothing on the side of Immortals defense.
Well, if Renegades is going to strike back with fury in a way that we weren't expecting, this would be the time to show that we're not selling for a draw. We're actually in this to win it. They would want to come in real quick. Here's a pulse bomb. Doesn't connect. It does. Agility's out. Verbo out. Jesus coming in huge. And yet Grim Reality stopping him in his tracks. But Mangachu with the immediate revenge. Taking down 2, now 3. And Renegades very quickly bringing this back. Suddenly, Immortals is in a rough spot. So Renegades actually just striking back potentially faster here, Hex. 5 people on the payload. How long can Immortals delay this? Can they find a way through? The Dragon Blade coming up from Icon. We'll see if they can do enough.
Big stall coming out as they do end up hammering down Jesus. Jur and Mangachu continue their reign of terror, but the only 1 kill on the side of Immortals as they try to bring him back. Juvenile now out here trying to punch people off of the point. They have 2 ticks. Great contention going on. Ethan is going to come up as the May. Diva still on the field from Hyped as they try to reinforce. They have full 6 back on this. Does Renegades.
Full 6 and a sound barrier. This is about as well protected as you get, and yet Immortals is burning time off the clock and still keeping open the possibility of somehow bringing this back. Ethan going to die. He was May stalling out, but Agilities, this is dangerous. He just killed 1. Can he kill more? Mangachu in the air, trying to finish out, but there's a sound barrier, and it's just Agilities and Grim that have it, but that can be deadly. Grim is able to pick 1 up, and
they're 2 down.
They're down 2. They still have to set the point, and it's not quite enough, so.
Close.
Wow.
Very close.
We don't see this very often. To have both teams set blazingly fast times here in Anubis. Who knows where this all ends in the very end. But it's actually Renegades with a 1 minute faster time.
They flew. I mentioned that ID was feeling his Pharah earlier tonight, and it is a banner night for Pharahs because they are hitting every follow-up rocket that you have to. And granted, they don't look all that impressive. They're not the 40-meter midair onto an opposing Pharah. But 4 feet off the ground, a jumping Lucio, you miss that rocket, it's going to cost you 2 more to hit him again. So it's just the efficiency in which these kills are coming through. They're not the most amazing plays, but you see more Pharahs than not miss them, and hitting those rockets directly really lowers the time to kill.
This is just very exciting now because Renegades has changed a situation where they were just fighting to keep it even. Now they have a legitimate chance of taking this. In fact, more so than what you have from Immortals, because remember, if you cap point A, you get an extra 30 seconds. Renegades effectively only down 2 minutes from a fresh Temple of Anubis map. So really the odds that they are able to pull us through and get 4 points rather than just settling for 3, much higher now.
Very difficult to predict what this one's going to go. One of the more exciting assault maps we've seen in a bit. Compositions don't look like they've changed a whole lot. There's no reason to take Jesus off of his Tracer. He's been playing a great one. Offensively for Immortals, dive in full effect. 2 dive tanks, 2 dive DPS. Ethan back on the Ana, as I suspected. He was not having a great life on the Zen, mostly because Jesus made it miserable for him.
Immortals now looking to have a fast offense here once more. And why? Why are you back here? I don't understand, Jer. That was rough.
Do what now? All right, they get 3 kills right off the bat as Immortals rolls in on the red carpet rolled out for them. Jesus gonna try his best, gonna rewind, but that is a predictable rewind. He is cleaned up in short order. Here is a gift we have brought to your feet, say Renegades. First point given to you, Immortals.
I think my mind broke there for a second. I was just like, wait, I understand tanks going far up. I understand DPS being far up, but what like, Jura being that far up to begin with, I understand that his people in front of him had died.
It was odd. It was odd.
That's just one of the things, like, are you sure you're not confused as to what team you're on right now? Either way, it's heavy momentum coming in for Immortals. Now they have a chance to come in here, and who knows how many rotations is going to go through here, X.
Well, Jesus used a Pulse Bomb early, did not get much there unless that was part of the kill onto Grim, but already at 20% again, and he finds Nomi, who lands to a barrage of bullets, gets another tanked as Hype goes down, desuited at the very least. They might just leave him out of it. Yep. Gonna make him Bunny Blaster his way back to an expensive mech suit. So far being bullied back. Gotta be careful here, our Immortals, but they're banking up ultimates. Nano Blade should be coming out. It's been a while since we've seen Agilities put the team on his back as Genji anyway.
This is probably going to be one of the best opportunities here for Immortals. Of course, they have 3 minutes left. They will get another good chance, but this right now with the Dragon Blade and Nano Boost. And we know Agilities is pretty efficient at getting this done, more so than many of the other Genjis in the game. So let's see what he does if I haven't sufficiently cast or cursed him going into this next fight. But he's not going to wait too long here. Moving in, waiting for his chance, and no, he's just going to go right in. Nano Boost on him, looking for the Nano Blade, gets booped around, not able to get Lucio, takes out a turret.
Take what you can get.
I guess, got the turret, but the rest of it's still working out okay here for Immortals. It was a bit of an overdrive coming in for Renegades, so Immortals still think really good chance of taking this now.
Pulse Bomb does come in, takes down Nomi. He is down from Sherlocki anyway. Grim Reality trying to close this out with his Tracer. A lot of tanks coming in, a lot of tanks getting focused down. Juvenile's gonna be very careful. He's gonna fall next. It is all Immortals in the kill feed. It's what you expect, but that's some nice delay as the Mei comes out. Mangachu hides himself behind that wall.
I gotta say, Torbjorn not really doing as much for Mangachu as once. That's why he's now on the Mei, coming back in, but he dies immediately. Immortals now confirming their position on the point as Renegades now stuck in that awkward position where they're hoping for a miracle, trying to buy every moment of time off the clock, but it is looking very, very poor for them as Agilities pops another Dragon Blade, takes down Ico, and Immortals now 4-2. So we have ourselves a slugfest here, Hex.
This is Anubis in its newest form, a little harder to stall out, although it's not as perceptible as people think. The maps have changed into the newest map, or newest patch rather. Assault maps will scale respawn times based on how many people you have on the point, so it is much more difficult to stall Outlast, evidenced by the score you're seeing in front of you.
Hex, I did just think of a terrible scenario, though.
Oh, do share.
That this still could end in a draw.
That's always on my mind on Assault. I just assume it's going to end in draw until I'm proven otherwise.
But it would probably be the most exciting draw that we've had all tournament long.
Absolutely, I think all draws are exciting. Mostly because I like round 1s on Ilios, although that would be our 5th and final decider at the end. This has been crazy. I really don't even understand what happened to Renegade's defense on first last time. Perhaps being too aggressive. It is their style, so I'm not going to fault them for it, but it seemed like they just gave it to Immortals, perhaps hoping for a better defense on last. And I got to say, Mangachu, king of the niche picks, not working out real well. Mei, Torb, just haven't done anything.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I mean, maybe you saw Eska Mei highlights and thought, this is what I want. I mean, Eska did bust out the world famous
just
reverse
a warning to anyone.
yeah,
Just never get on ZP's wrong side. Why do you think I'm so nice to him? Once you're in his sights, it is relentless. Eska's found himself on the wrong side of the ZP
near hating on Eska anywhere near as much as other people are commenting on it. But when you see the reverse ice wall, you do just sit there and thinking emoji to yourself in a quiet place.
Fair enough. Renegades taking their typical angles on attack. Now they're getting spotted out, but not before Mangachu can take down Grim. That's going to open things up for him. Ethan also goes down in the fight. A very quick advantage for Renegades as they start this off.
And for Renegades, they're going to try and pull us in. It is very back and forth between the two, but Mangachu is still in, and that really is all Renegades needs. Moving in to the back. And Immortals not exactly putting up a sterling defense here, just eating rocket after rocket. It's what's for breakfast. The best and last breakfast you'll ever have.
He made the Genji kill himself with self-rocket damage. That's style points if I've ever seen it. Well, that Pharah going very well for Mangachu. Grim's going to try to respawn coming up onto his McCree. They've got a couple of responses here. Running triple DPS on defense, not something we generally see Immortals run, but when the Pharah is a call and have to deal with it, Pharah already comes in 3 kills already.
What a deflection. And Mangachu now in 2 kills already. We really do have an offensive-oriented Anubis on our hands. Here comes Barrage over the top. Not enough defensive matrix in the world to deal with that much. coming in. Of course, the timer just wore off on that as Mangachu picking up 2. Now looking for a third. Gonna pick up that third. This has been a gem of a Pharah game coming out here. Agility is gonna try and ruin that though.
He's going to.
Back, gets Sherlocky. No, he only picks up 1. He's not staunched the bleeding here as Renegades.
But they don't even have a tick yet. They don't even have a tick yet. The stall has been coming out so long that during all of this fight, they've gotten 0 progress. Soundbarrier might be able to switch that around, but it's been contested the entire time. Immortals, one of the better team at stalling, even with the assault changes. They've done this to teams like time and time again.
They have. Immortals is very good at stalling out. Probably one of the better teams in the game at it. As noted, for as much as Renegades has dominated this, but Ico, another Dragon Blade, takes Verbo off that pillar, and that's going to remove some of the stalls that comes in, and yet more stalls still on the way. The respawn chambers, limitless.
Still not a tick, as it's actually moved backwards during this time. Okay, tick on the board. Nomi is able to kill Mangachu, but the resurrection immediately as Mangachu gets his second life. Sherlocky back in the fight. Nomi.
And that's a good move. You want full power. You don't want to sit there and go, oh, let's wait for a value res. No, you want a full 6 for many reasons, also including the latest change. Jesus right now moving around, just trying to clean up every respawn as they come in, but Immortals, their stall has been pretty effective. This has been going on for quite a while, and Renegades only at the halfway mark.
The contest has been great. They always have a body on it, just denying any sort of progress. We're at a tick and a half. It's been there for a bit, but they always have a body on it. Thanks a lot to that Mei. Mei is going to be stuck behind the wall. That was a great death phase from Mei. Aiko's trying to bring this in as well. Jerk gets in on the action, but still, look at this progress, or lack thereof.
It has been rough, but Grim actually just made his own bed the way in there. It was fantastic. Still, Renegades winning most of this fight, although hyped on the Tracer does come out and take out Sherlocky. Not gonna run his way through. Oh, the barrage in over the top, taking down 3.
They needed that.
Justice coming in. That weather report more severe than what the Northeast just got. That much is for sure. As Mangachu piles on.
There's the second tick finally as they are able to get some alone time on the point. That leads to the third tick. We have a good old-fashioned Temple of Anubis slobber knocker.
Well, we can take 1 or 2 things here. A glass half full or glass half empty. Either both teams are really good on their attacks right now, or both teams are really struggling on their defense. Probably a bit of both, but it has been entertaining nonetheless. Time coming down to wire here, but Renegades, they have built up a reasonable time advantage now, just about a little under double the time that Immortals has. So I think Renegades here, their path to victory pretty clear. Hex, they get a full hold here, or a hold on A, and then they come back and cap A themselves, finish out 5-4. That'd be pretty clean and picture perfect.
You'd think at some point one of these defenses has to show up to point A. It's been non-existent. The defense of a papier-mâché banner a football team runs through before homecoming has been akin to what we're seeing here.
Hey, there's videos of people failing to run through that and just getting knocked on their butts.
Which are hilarious videos, because come on, really, it's paper. It's paper. You got defeated by a taut piece of paper. Anyway, hopefully a defense shows up here as we continue on Anubis. Mangachu on the defensive Pharah this time. Why not? His offensive Pharah has been spectacular. Bring the Rocket Queen to wherever map you're going to. Offensively, this has been the same composition they've run every time. Very dive. 2 dive tanks, 2 flankers, Athan and Verbo in support.
Immortals now on the way. We'll see if this is going to be effective. We'll see if Renegades can find a way of stalling this out, because again, pressure on the Renegades defense, having to hold here for another 1.5 minutes. Mangachu not wasting any time, diving in, looking for those high-value rockets on multiple people, but Winston Shield keeps him out for a moment, but not for very long. Gonna finish up this Diva kill with Jesus. And it's a combination double dive between Tracer and Pharah that catches Immortals off guard and buys them some very crucial time. 1 team fight away here, Hex, potentially, from setting the stage for their victory here on Anubis.
I know that I have a Pharah bias. I have admitted to as much, but the direct rockets Mangachu is hitting are very, very pretty. It means so much to not have to use a 2nd or 3rd rocket. It's potentially another target you're able to take down in the clip, and he's been on it.
Immortals making another attempt here. Going to be taking the high ground on the right side. Different approach here that gives him a little bit more control of the point. More room to breathe here for Grim Reality, who, on the McCree now, very much wants to ruin Mangachu's day. Does not want him flying the friendly skies any longer, but sees Jesus creeping around. McCree also pretty good at dealing with Tracer, but Grim, 32 HP, not in a good position to deal with it, and he's going to fall. Ico dashes into him, so they're down that McCree power. Nothing is left here to check Mangachu. as this fight develops, and there's only 25 seconds remaining. Renegades cleaning this up with ease after that early pickoff.
Nice nade there from Sherlocky, able to get everyone low that they needed. 20 seconds left, do or die time.
Please don't do this. We've seen this too much tonight. Please just defend normally. Don't go far out. And Jesus is able to go out and take down the mech and get out with his life.
Have some faith.
My faith is shattered tonight. My team's going way too far out. So Renegades playing this a little bit more standard. Why change what's been working? We're in overtime here. Immortals, final attempt on the way. Not necessarily a good attempt. Diva still doesn't reclaim from Exo, and Hype goes down.
I didn't like that wall much either. There it goes. He's going to come in, trying to hit these direct rockets. Verbo takes 3. 3 rocketing a Lucio from that distance is great.
It's great, and the rest of the team able to make up for that as Mangachu was trying to do some home reconstruction there, and Renegades, they hold. And now they have 2 minutes and 13 seconds to put this away. What a story. Back when you look back to the beginning of the map where Immortals had that very first capture.
Right.
This is not what we had in mind because this, frankly, does not happen very often. You can look at all the Anubis play in the OCS for the most part. And there was one other game that had high numbers, but other than that, relatively stable, 2 1s, 3 2s, draws. This, though, has been next level. Very entertaining offense, but Renegades.
You know, offense sells tickets. We were talking about that earlier today, and this Anubis has been worth the price of admission for sure. At this point, Renegades is playing with house money. At the very least, they will get out of this with a draw. Chance to win, though, with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left. Their offense has looked very good. I don't think they're going to run Jesus on this Widow, given how well they've been playing, but I don't know. Teams have been messing with winning strategies all night.
Well, they've been playing well, although I actually like the idea of a Widow switch up here because Widow's one of those things where if you're not expecting it, it's triple the pain if you're not respecting those sight lines, especially if Jesus was able to find Grim Reality early on. So I would be okay with it if he did it.
Well, the issue I have is that everyone's holding in the back corner anyway because they know Mangachu and Aiko are coming over there. So you're already bullying them in sightline-wise regardless. Jesus has been the one able to crack that corner for them. They will switch off, and we'll see what kind of angle they want to take. 2 minutes to take Anubis and go up 2-0 in the series.
Renegades looking for it here. And right now, Mangachu is just very content to work on that Reinhardt shield, force the defense back, and here comes a dive in. Renegades not wasting any time. Mangachu, well-positioned here at the top. No pressure on him at all. He's going to the back. He's going for, he does not fear this Roadhog or his hook. Not able to finish the kill, but also not in mortal danger here. Roadhog way off the point. Not able to finish Grim Reality, and that's unfortunate for Mangachu. He had some opportunities there, could not convert, and his team is going to pay the price.
Here's the thing, the dive doesn't get him killed. Guess who is the one paying the price for that? Sherlocky goes down first in that fight because of that over-aggressive dive into the corner. Take what's given to you, gets a little bit greedy there. However, they still have a minute left. They cannot lose anyone here, should not bleed.
And blood prices that you're not paying, not the worst. At least from Mangachu's perspective.
But Sherlocky goes down again, trying to protect Mangachu. Grim Reality punishes him for that. Look, when you're part of a pharmacy combo, that does hurt your Pharah. You cannot lose your Mercy like that.
No, absolutely not. And Mangachu, lucky not to die here, getting healed up at the last moment. Perhaps the final opportunity coming up here for Renegades. They do have 2 ultimates, but I gotta say, if they don't take out Grim Reality immediately, this could go very, very poorly for them. He needs to be priority #1, or he's gonna have them in their sights, and it's gonna be over before it begins. But they lose 2 people immediately. Attack advisor, not even popped, and that's rough.
Just back out. Oh, they do use the barrage, actually. Takes down 8th, and here comes the res. This could turn it all around.
All right, the resurrection is in. Renegades looking for the last bit. Aiko still holding on to the Dragon Blade, but Grim Reality still has the attack visor. This is problematic. You need to get on him before this goes bad. Still, Aiko going for easy targets. Finds Verbo. Anything else in the range of his slicer here? No, he has to put away, but here comes Grim Reality. This is what we're waiting for. The attack visor comes out, takes down 1, takes down 2, makes it 3. Grim Reality not contained here in the very end, and he is going to put an end to Renegade's hopes of winning Anubis outright, perhaps. Well, Jesus, and he's going for the last moment here. We'll see if it's going to be enough, but Grim Reality has dealt very critical damage to this Renegade squad, and Jesus not able to stay alive. And overtime ticks away, 4-4. It was exciting. It had ups and downs, but in the end, it's still a draw.
Yeah, unfortunately, after all of that, 4-4, We do draw out on Anubis. That means Renegades will retain their lead in the series 1-0. Should we need a tiebreaker, we'll deal with it at the end of things. That's an interesting screen. Play of the match, Sherlocky, as he brings it up. And I have to say, we talked about messing with winning strategies. You know what was winning for them? Coming around backside and doing a lot of damage over the top. Instead, they went over front, found themselves in a corner, and yes, Mangachu lived, but he's only half of the combination. The other half is your Mercy, and they lost their Mercy several times there, and I think it was just too aggressive from Mangachu.
The other thing there is target prioritization. I mean, we were saying in the middle of the cast as it was going down, but Grim Reality has Tac Visor. He has Tac Visor.
Yeah.
If you're using a Dragon Blade and you're just going on the Lucio here, well, this is problematic because you haven't used it to immediately remove someone who can end the game in an instant. And unfortunately, even as they start getting momentum, Grim Reality is not counted for, and he slams the door in Renegade's face and saves the map for Renegades, or for Immortals.
Well, but obviously that was the end. Let's go back to the beginning. Because that was about as, I think that probably was literally the longest Temple of Anubis we've had this entire event. But I want to go all the way back to the beginning, and something we saw throughout the entire thing is we saw hyped on D.Va and Zarya primarily. He did switch over to Tracer. What do we like him on more? I know we've talked about it before.
My answer is in hours of film. I like him on D.Va.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, for hyped, it's a case where his D.Va is top class, everything else is streaky at best. It is not as consistent as what you want. I mean, compared to another Tracer for another team, you take a look at what, say, AZK did earlier today for Team Liquid. Hyped is not doing what AZK does on Team Liquid when he goes Tracer. He is, the way that I would say it is that you compare it to other professional sports, he's replacement level Tracer right now. He's not anything hugely special when he's on it.
He can play it. I mean, when he was forced to it on the end as stall out is when he came out, and he was able to take down the Mercy a couple times, but it wasn't the giant pulse bombs bring the fight all the way back kind of thing. And I don't blame him for it at all. He put hours and hours and hours into D.Va going back before she was overpatched and just doesn't have the playtime on Tracer. And Tracer really does rely on that god tier tracking at this level especially to be able to be super effective on. So I don't blame Hype for not being on Tracer. He put in hours elsewhere.
Well, and even Jesus, I mean, if you're comparing to people, other Tracers that are playing better, right now you've got a better Tracer that's playing better against you. And even though he was somewhat being shut down by McCree, even on King's Row, he was still having impactful pulse bombs. He was still able to bring things back for the team. And honestly, the only other thing that was really striking about this game before we go into our next map, which is going to be, it sounds like Ilios, is that epic delay on second there in the defense for Immortals, but it was led by some weird stuff. So this is where Hyped was on Tracer at the beginning of that map, but then Nami switched to D.Va. I mean, we even saw Aethan on May, Reaper was played by Grim, and a couple of these were picked after the fact, but I really want to talk about Nomi on D.Va. Why are you bringing D.Va 3 DPS to second defense?
Well, because D.Va is a pain to remove from the point. I mean, this goes back to the very beginning of Overwatch where back before there was one hero limit, never forget Gibraltar, Envious, 5 Divas, truly the dream. Probably could have been 6 if it kept up there. So, I mean, D.Va is the OG for stalling out there as far as that goes. But then the other heroes mentioned, May, Ice Block on point.
Yeah.
Reaper, Wraith form. These are all heroes that can go either, not so much in D.Va's case, but D.Va's just hard to remove, period. But the other heroes can go invincible on the point, hard to remove, and they just continually stagger. You combine that with the Tracer that's blinking in and out, well, you have a recipe for staying quite a while on Anubis point B.
Well, sorry, that makes sense, but Nami, that was the initial pick. That was not a reactionary pick. That was like literally we're waiting for them to come onto the point. Anyway, it was weird.
Well, it's what Immortals does better than other teams, though. They don't try to win the fight on the defense. Winning the fight or getting kills is secondary to their primary goal, which is have a body on there at all times. And especially when the other team's not running a D.Va, it's already going to be, or not running a Zarya, rather, it's already going to be hard to demech the D.Va. That's a lot of time because the defense matrix is going to be up, fly up in the air, that's another. And then when the D.Va finally gets cleaned up, May just comes in ice blocks. So you notice that even when the fight is going on and it's going all the other way, there's no progress because there's always a body on the point. And that's what Immortals does better than other teams to stall out.
So apparently they were going into that fight. They didn't want to win anything. They just wanted to delay as long as they could.
No, that's not entirely true. They do want to still win there, but what they're doing is that they're saying taking a straight up fight that's 4v6 is not in our odds, but if we continually delay this, we give opportunities for our Tracer to find a way in, get a pick off, and then suddenly we can fight back instead of going more for a delay focused strategy.
Well, after a very long time on the Assault map, we are now on to the CP map. Control points coming out here on Oasis, sorry, not Ilios. So we are going to be on Oasis, and we haven't seen this in a couple of days. Pretty crazy map, haphazard to say the least. This one being selected by Immortals. What are we expecting here? Mangachu already showing that Pharah.
You should definitely expect Pharah and then expect Immortals to respond to it in some way. Right now, it is going to be, all right, new strategy, hyped on the Widow. If we can get that viewpoint, that'd be great. I have not seen a whole lot of Widow on this map, but it's definitely going to try to take away the high ground from Mangachu, and they've scouted him that he's going to run this.
Well, this is a city center. There's plenty of room around. Just don't run into any of the cars on the side, or please do. We haven't seen it on stream. But hyped here. This is a very interesting Widow spot, although he's also struggling to get his footing. Well, Price is Right failed for him.
Meanwhile, Grim Reality, below all the action, has taken out several of the heroes, so hyped on the Widow experiment is just that, as he switches off onto Tracer. Still going to run this triple DPS. Agilities will be the third on Diva, or rather on Genji. Nomi on the Diva, notably.
France hasn't been that sad over the performance of one of their citizens since Waterloo.
Oh, that was a deep dive of a reference. I'm for it. Historical references and accuracy brought to you by ZP here. Mangachu diving in over the top, taking a lot of damage, still no kills, finally picks up Athan.
And now this is where Renegades are starting to bring this back. 2 kills for them as they roll back in onto that point, but this is where Immortals can still delay this out quite a bit. Grim Reality, of course, bring it right back, able to knock Mangachu out of the sky, so of course, City Center, very much known for just fights all over the place. You have multiple battlefields, but right now the one that matters is Grim Reality just knocking them down as soon as they get set up. 3 kills for Grim Reality, and his soldier finding new life here.
Oh, this is surprising, because we didn't have a lot of time coming into this map, but Immortals is not very good on control. Renegades is very good on control. That's about as simple as I can make it. Renegades has done very good on control, except against teams like LG Evil, perhaps, but Immortals also has struggled on control. So far, not looking like the case. Grim has had Mangachu's number. It might be time to get off of the Pharah.
That's a tough sell for Mangachu.
Yeah, I'm aware.
He does not like getting off the Pharah for no reason. But Renegades, they do pick up 2 here, so Immortals now going to go into more of a stall sort of situation as they look for pickup. Agility's certainly making a case here, trying to get in Shalaki, but not able to quite finish it off. But that bomb towards the end, that's going to finish off.
Well, it's not going to be a stall. Renegades did end up flipping the point somewhere in the chaos, but that chaos continues.
Aiko might be off in the palm now, but Agilities, Dragon Blade coming out here, trying to equalize this a little bit. Very back and forth. Blue and red dotting the kill feed. Fireworks in over the top here for Juvenile, but he's quickly finding himself without a whole lot of friends around the point as Immortals trying to recap this. Note that Renegades did cap this during some of the chaos, so long as they're delaying, they get progress back. That progress going to end.
A little late on the stall out is Aiko. He will pay for it as Hyped is able to take him down. Hyped is getting damage from an unknown source right now. We'll back out, play along the freeway. Do not do that if you're children at home. Look both ways before you cross the street, and don't live in this futuristic city. However, right now, if you took these names off of it, I would guess the other way around, as Immortals looks very strong on control, at least on this stage.
Renegades, though, has a huge ult advantage going into this. Though there are options here for Immortals, Grim was going to have to dodge this early on, although Grim, not the main target. It's going to be Lucio as the main target. Frees up Grim to look for things here, and Grim and Agility's going to turn this right back around, so they just need Grim with Attack Visor, apparently. All of Renegade's ultimates not really amounting to much, as Immortals very close to finishing out this first round here on the City Center.
Grim and Agility's really ganged up on Mangachu a bunch of times, and now we don't always talk about Genji as anti-Pharah, but he can chip in. He can help out. Not only just shurikens, right clicks, the dash through is such a great finisher onto a Pharah who's taken some of those 76 shots. It's very difficult to take down a Pharah alone as 76. The time to kill is there, and especially when they have a pocket. But you can get that final burst damage from your Genji, it can be golden, and they teamed up in him a lot.
All right, so heading into round number 2. It is looking like this is going to be a university. I might be mistaken, but good place to learn something about Overwatch. Not necessarily a great place for Pharah, as it's one stage where teams tend to avoid it. She doesn't quite have the verticality to work with. But really, it's just interrupting the lectures while it's going on.
Well, Mangachu is going to switch over to the Roadhog, which we've seen counter a Pharah here before. Agilities will be playing the Hog for the Immortal side of it as Immortals flips over into triple tank. That single DPS going to be Grim Reality on the Tracer. Grim vs. Jesus should be a fun one to watch.
Mangachu in the back here looking for an early hook. Did have an opportunity to grab Ryan, doesn't go for it. Instead goes for Tracer, not going to connect. Renegades Immortals in a bit of a slugfest here once more, but Pokeball Immortals is definitely suffering the worst end of this here. You take a look at Juvenile is low, but Juvenile isn't able to back out. He falls first. 5 versus 5. Renegades now perhaps on the other end of the poke war, but they do find Grim Reality, which after taking agilities, hook versus hook. Mangachu on top, and that's going to be Renegades with the first point capture.
Mangachu able to pull that off, able to pull in Hyped as he has his shield down. Sherlocky with the clutch finish onto Hype, making sure that hook does not go to waste. Renegades, as you mentioned, in control of this point right now. 14%. Grim has switched over onto the McCree. He is a McCree specialist. I don't know if we mentioned it. He's good at it.
Just occasionally. Sometimes it's a random trivia note, but Renegades picking up 2, not leaving Grim Reality with much space to work with here. The thing about McCree is that he's great when he has a number advantage. He's far less great when he has to work from behind because he just doesn't deal with double teams all that well. So Grim immediately had to back out and couldn't do much there because of his front line just collapsing.
The ultimate dueler able to 1v1 nearly anyone, but is when you get those odd number advantages. Here comes a grab, whole hog into it. There's a lot of damage. They have
the Earth Shatter following through. Juvenile, no mercy after the Graviton sets them up. Immortals finding themselves very close to their spawn door. Almost complexities here, but they're not quite going to go for the full camp. They're going to back out, take better positioning, and we'll see if Jesus can get a pulse bomb here to start
this
this
out.
out.
Something Immortals has been mixing into their game a little bit, though, as we see a replay of that grab into Whole Hog, and then Earth Shatter for good measure, just to make sure that those people are actually cleaned up. A lot of investment there, though.
They did invest a lot to win that team fight, but why not? They're very far ahead. Pulse Bomb comes in, does not take down Agilities right away. And Immortal's going to turn the tables, dropping the sound barrier, rolling onto the point, and it gives them 2 quick kills. Renegades not with the punching power to deal with that sound barrier initiation. So Immortals, it's been a long slog for them here on the University. They finally get control, but they're going to have to hold it for the rest of the map now.
Essentially, his 83% is about 1 fight away. Aiko is very far away from his Graviton, so that will not be the game changer. It could be Juvenile coming in here as he will be nearing Earth Shatter. Of course, Jesus has hit Pulse Bomb after Pulse Bomb. We might see a Shatter War here. Grim is going to have a hard time getting a very valuable Deadeye off, just a difficult map. That Deadeye does pop out.
Deadeye coming out here from Grim. He's going to do a little bit of shield damage, but Jesus got picked off early. Doesn't really matter as much anymore. Renegades not in a great position to tank this. They don't have the flanking threat that will split the attention of Immortals here. Instead, they can focus all their attention in the front line. That's bad when you're doing the McCree, but they're going to go in now. They feel like they can get back in. Jesus is back into the fray, and Agilities goes down, or Agilities able to take down Mangachu really early on in this fight. So, sound barrier or no, it's not the best for Renegades to begin with, but Jesus now free to get some cleanup. 4 versus 4. Either team could still take this, but now that Jesus just being unchained, grabs another. Grim Reality puts an end to that. Very close.
So low, Renegades trying to pull it back. Aiko takes down Verbo, but he's the last one up for this team on the point right now. Grim is going to have all the space he needs. Aiko takes down Hype. Aiko with big plays. Mangachu now back into a beautiful dart. Puts Grim on the ground. He will be awoken by a pulse from the Zarya rifle. Grav comes in late. This is Renegades pulling it back 90%. Going to be difficult for them to get back on.
Well, Grim is doing enough work there. He earned his nap time. Fortunately, he did not think about how to wake up. But 95% here for Renegades. Now it's just up to Immortals to try and touch the point to keep this going, but they're getting mopped up. They do get onto that point, but they've lost so many people that this should be an easy task to finish up here. Grim Reality trying to get back to a point, but
Juvenile just zoning him out.
Classy. Real classy. A gentleman to the very end. Tips the hat and acknowledges that the round is in fact over. Renegades fighting back.
1-1 is the map score on Oasis. We will be moving on into Gardens, which we looked up today is the name of this stage. I was confused because I think there's another garden stage. It's, I believe it's on Lijiang, which is the koi pond that they call a garden. This also called Gardens, plural. Remember, like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, as that's where most of the fighting will take place on the Hanging Gardens area.
Well, let me just say this, that the Legion Garden is nowhere as nice looking as the Oasis Garden. I mean, you take a look at Legion, it doesn't really seem to have the environment to support the lush life that Oasis is right now.
It's very corporate, very corporate. This is not the hippie environment that we're in here in Oasis. Mangachu back on that Pharah is the only Pharah on the field. Grim is on the other side on a McCree. That is a battle to watch.
Hex, I happily pay $25 for my coffee in Oasis. It's a pretty good place. Jesus moving in, not phased at all by Verbo's wall riding. Just sees it as a cantrip and takes him down pretty quickly here as the rest of Renegades piling on from this. You don't have a Lucio, you can't really speed boost in. You're lacking AoE healing, and makes things rough here for Immortals as they do try and contest this, but it is going very poorly. Mangachu in over the top, rocket after rocket, takes down 2. Clean take here for Renegades.
And that's the tough spot that Grim is in, right? He wants to be able to take down the Mercy, but if he aims at the Mercy, he's just going to get shot at by the Pharah. If he shoots at the Pharah, he's not going to do enough damage because the Mercy's still alive. Rock and a Hard Place need to get a little bit of support for him, at least give him hype to keep him alive during those things, or maybe Agilities can chime in. But right now, what is painfully obvious is that Mangachu will be running this Pharah until you make him not run this Pharah.
Well, he is damage boosted right now, holding on to the barrage. Doesn't want to use it here just yet. Does not want to be the classic line that you usually don't finish, but going to the back line, this would be huge. Here comes the barrage, gets 1 support, picks up both. Goodbye healing to Immortals, which means goodbye to the support here for Grim Reality. Agility's running for his life. And, you know, even if that last rocket didn't kill him, that was a bit of a dead end.
What would you do if you had someone with an actual sense of humor you had to cast with? I just laugh at everything.
I would just be sitting here and just basking in the ha-has.
Haha, indeed. I will say Sherlocky has stood out to me this game. Mangachu will get all the glory and credit, but Sherlocky's done a great job of keeping Mangachu alive. More importantly, keeping himself safe with the Guardian Angel. Mercies don't get enough credit in this combination. Time to shout him out. He's going to have Resurrection up too. Big Blade comes in.
Aiko moving in, gets a deflect early on. Slicing, but not so much dicing. Ends up falling to Agilities. But again, while you're looking at the Genji, you're not necessarily looking at the Tracer coming in from the opposite flank. Resurrection is going to be coming in here from Renegades. It brings up everyone that was down. So they're able to maintain the pressure here in Immortals. Struggling to get in, but...
I was just about to say how slippery Jesus has been throughout this entire set against McCree's and against Roadhogs. You can dodge hooks, but can you dodge bullets?
I mean, his body was still slippery there as it slid across the ground, getting a mouthful of scrap. I mean, you know, stays with it. But hyped. Fireworks in over the top. Takes down 2! Immortals finding a way through back to this point, of course. They kind of had to do that. This was do or die for them.
Jesus just sitting in the corner, not letting them flip this back over. Does finally get bullied off, but buys them a couple seconds. Full on 99%, about as close as one fight away as you can get for Renegades to take the map series. Pulse Bomb Barrage up for them to do so. Some defensive ultimates on the menu for Immortals, Earthshatter most notably.
It's harder to get good Earthshatters here just because of the verticality element, but certainly a quest has been unlocked here for Nomi because they're going to need to get every bit of value from their ultimates as possible here because they will have moments here where they just do not have firepower, but Mangachu, Justice reigns into the defensive matrix, gets nothing done there. Meanwhile, Agility's regulating the top lane, so definitely works out here for Immortals, but that's just one fight of many here, Hex. They're gonna need at least 3 more fights.
One of many, but they did end up completely negating that barrage. Some nice play from Hyped as he was able to swoop in there on the Diva. An unseen presence blocking a lot of that damage that Mangachu took a nap dreaming of justice.
Agilities gets to admire the finer things in the life, like the sunset. Just taking a moment to realize that despite all the bloodshed, that there's good beauty here in the world.
I bet you Roadhog is a sensitive fellow under that mask.
I believe it, but next fight on the way. Grim Reality, no, the Nanovisor getting nothing done, immediately bopped. Meanwhile, Mangachu's still up, but not for long. Nomi takes him out of the air with a fire strike, ends up picking up 2. Nomi regulating more than he should, but Jesus with the special delivery puts an end to that. It is a number advantage here for Renegades as they retake the point. 99%. Is any stall going to be coming in here? There will be stall. It's Tracer coming in with the Sound Bearer. They're actually reinvigorated, is Immortal, so they have the ability to take this back, but Aiko, Dragon Blade coming in here, looking for a little bit more. Has one early on. Not going to get much more than that, but that could be all they need as Immortals just struggling to make anything happen onto this point, but they're quickly running out of numbers to stall out and keep this going.
Agilities will go down. The clock does tick out. That wick is burned. And we got a Diva pile on the point. Rez comes off. I don't know what I'm seeing anymore. Is this real life? It is real life. Renegades up 2-1 on the map. They're up 1-0 in this series. On our third map, of course, we did draw out on an epic Anubis. Very action-packed draw, but a draw nonetheless. Renegades looking to go up 2-0, and we mentioned before the set began, it would benefit them greatly to finish this out in 4, I guess, at this point. But the longer it goes on, sometimes some questionable plays come out of Renegades.
You sort of stole what I was about to say here, in that maybe Immortals just has them right where they want them. And the idea that, well, you weren't able to win in 3, so now you get to be out of gas, and you're not going to do well because Renegades has had real troubles finishing out best of 5s with any sort of energy or expertise. So,
which is odd for a 5-Hour Energy sponsored team. Maybe hit them up a little bit. Detroit Renegades, 5-Hour Energy. Regardless, Grim onto this McCree as he's trying to get some damage done, but his agilities with the first kill onto Jesus. Jesus, as good as he's played, has been the first casualty a lot of times.
Oh my God, Grim Reality statement coming out there. 3 quick kills. You get to swing your Peacemaker around after that. You get to crouch. You get to do whatever you want. It's your world, Grim. We're just living in it. Until the next fight, and we're probably get flanked by 3 people and die.
Well, that was rather cynical. I was going to say Grim, but just didn't want to go there. Regardless, that is a first cap, about 10% already for Immortals here. I'm trying to think, was this the stage they won?
Mangachu comes in. Mangachu comes in, is able to take down Nomi here, so Renegade's already getting that first pick off to start things out. Grim, though, piling back 16 health. Is 16 enough for Grim? Able to take down Jesus. Jesus tasted that kill, but wasn't able to get it. Here comes a Deadeye in the back, looking for any takers. It's High Noon, and he grabs it. Finds Sherlocky.
Sherlocky donating his life for cowboy science there. As Grim is a problem, is what I'm saying if I'm on Renegades. Let's find an answer to this problem. Of course, easier said than done. He can't be that good of a McCree. He used Fan the Hammer. Fan the Hammer in 2017, lol.
Old school Volataja flashbacks.
Well, Grim has been mostly untouched. Agility is going to hold the high ground. He's waiting for a whole hog.
Oh, please knock people off the edge, please. No, no, this is all gone terrible. You're the one flying off the edge. Why?
It's just a little airborne. It's still good. It's still good. Nomi comes in and grabs a couple of kills on his own, though. So despite Agility's unceremonious gymnastics act there, they are able to bring it back. Agility's, the good thing is he saved his ult. He's going to have it for the next fight.
I mean, he can still go for the knockoff again if he doesn't have terrible memories from last time he tried that. But Immortals definitely a much better position this time. 82% says 0. So even if they lose this fight, a lot of outs for them to win this. But Renegades, they're all in. Here comes the Graviton. Big Bang comes in. Only takes out Grim, but definitely one of the better pickoffs you can get for Immortals, given what he has done here so far. 2-1, 3-1. You have a late hook here by Jildies, but now he is horrifically outnumbered and doesn't even get that as he gets hammered straight to the posterior.
Juvenile swing and Verbo is gonna gladly stop that hammer with his face. Hyped will be the next one to fall as they're simply trying to reset. Renegades will flip the point back over. A very large goal in front of them, I suppose, at 99% for Immortals. One more fight and Immortals will take this. That is a super aggressive charge up front. They're probably going to punish this. Juvenile does go down. 2 tanks fall quickly. 6v4. Can Jesus finally kill Grim? It has not been good for him so far.
Well, Grim right now doesn't really have to do much. The rest of his team could probably do it for him. He's low HP for a moment, but everyone Renegades is gone. Maybe they can get a little bit of stall here on the point, but not even that is going to be a thing. We are going to a 5th and final round here on Oasis. We will see how it pans out.
Well, Grim did whatever he wanted that game, and maybe there wasn't high ground, and maybe Grim wasn't uncontested on the high ground, but let me amend my phrase I've said time and again. Don't leave Grim alone. Don't let Grim be comfortable on what he's doing. McCree is his comfort pick. Make him uncomfortable on it at the very least. I think Jesus, yes, you're not going to win that matchup against Grim, but pressure him a little. Get in there, throw half a clip at him, blink out, something. Someone had to shoot at him. I don't think he caught bullets the entire time.
You go back to early in that round, though, you did have that moment where Grim was down to 16 health. If Jesus had just hit a little bit more there, the entire dynamic of the whole map likely changes. So Overwatch sometimes is won and lost on a very thin line.
Absolutely. We do have some high ground up here. No one on the Pharah because you have a jump pack. We're all Pharahs now. Wow, that is a lot of Renegades coming up over the chute, but Grim takes down Mangachu for his efforts.
I hate when all those Renegades come in over the top. That is just scary. Not a great position to be in, but Renegades, they aren't able to take down 3 early on. Jesus having himself one heck of a time in the back, darting around, ends up with 3 before it is all said and done. So definitely working the Tracer to high benefit here as Renegades, despite the lack of power in the last round, definitely coming out here much stronger.
Yeah, they pushed him off the point. They will grab this capture during the fight. Hard to always catch those on Oasis as the fight begins and doesn't end until the map is over. A very brawly map in comparison to things like Nepal. Generally have 6v6 sets, but now everyone fighting over the jump pad. A little bit unorthodox. I don't generally see pros fight over this thing as much as they are, but Jesus takes down 8th and Aiko chimes in. A couple of critical kills onto Immortals.
Hex, if you were going to a bouncy castle as a kid, those things are incredibly fun and also incredibly unsafe. So clearly they're going to fight over it, but Aiko gets some serious cleanup into this fight. Gets 2 towards the very end after doing so much work near the bouncy pad. Kind of want to go into a bouncy pad now.
We didn't do bouncy castles, but I had an even more unsafe option. Before they even had the rings you would put on those giant trampolines, we used to jump off the roof onto the trampoline into the pool. A childhood I did have, sir. An unsanctioned, unsafe childhood, but one...
I'm amazed you can still walk. That's impressive.
Well, who says I can? No one's really seen me stand. I just sit in this chair the entire time.
That is true.
Regardless, Aiko does have Dragon Blade ready, 58% for Renegade, looking to bust it out. He's been very patient with it over the last couple of days, almost too patient. Tries to take it out towards the end, but Agilities is the one with the one true blade until he gets slept.
He goes in, but he's going to get tough. He already did a lot of damage with it, so it's hardly a waste, but it does enough to let Immortals retake this point. Sherlocky, though, DPS Ana has been unlocked. Doesn't really have the staying power to win there, but hey.
It's fun to watch.
Does Tracer want to take this fight is a question. Sherlocky, he's ready to throw down. Sleep Dart is ready, but here comes Aiko. Looking to turn it down. Immediately just bops Nomi. One slice. Diva's out of it. And a short-lived method of control there for Immortals. And I give credit to Sherlocky for softening things up.
Yeah, kind of odd that that was able to flip back so quickly. It seemed like they had given up that point, and 80% now Renegades on the verge of taking this map and taking a 2-0 series lead. One more fight should do it. Not a ton to work with. Sound barrier, pulse bomb incoming, self-destruct on the other side, as well as a pulse bomb of their own, but it could be tactical visor from Grim, which brings this back for Immortals.
Meanwhile, Jesus rolling around, looking for the best target for the pulse bomb. Does try and stick Grim, not going to get it immediately. Does force Grim back a little bit here, but very quiet tact visor for Grim, not getting really anything of value here. Now he has Aiko in his face, fighting Aiko, but not worrying about the point. Oh, does get him in the end, but meanwhile, Renegade's still very much in control here. Grim needs to do more than this in the position that he's in, so now he's going to roll into a point. Overtime in progress. Diva, not probably the best target to go in on here, and meanwhile, it's Jesus and Jared just rolling around, cleaning things up, taking care of Diva. And it's looking like Renegades might be on the way to going up 2-0 in the series. It's a long overtime. People can come back in very quickly, but not quick enough. Renegades, it was close, Hex, but they do just enough in the very end.
A good showing from Renegades, as that should be a map that they win. They've been dominant on control all throughout the tournament, and a fellow who has been somewhat quiet, especially the last couple days we've seen him, had a good performance across multiple heroes tonight. That would be the new addition of Aiko. Nice grab there.
Good game for Aiko, and yeah. Again, I will say this in defense of Saipei because I thought Saipei was playing fine as well and certainly helped Renegades to their record. I don't necessarily think Saipei was a problem, but Aiko clearly has been a sufficient replacement coming in.
Well, you just never know all the behind the scenes of how these things work. And Aiko, I think, has at least demonstrated, I don't think he's at the same Genji level as Saipei. I don't even think that's debatable. But I think his pool might be a little deeper, and maybe that's what Renegades was looking for. Because Renegades, I think they used to have Mana Snow, if I'm incorrect. And he was a good Zarya for them. He tweeted his way off the team, but he's got a new team now, so maybe all for the best.
And I just want to say there's somewhere Taimu is sitting there shaking his fist going, I tried tried to get that achievement, and yet he's still with envy. So, Man of Snow, wherever you are right now, know that you did something that Taimu was not able to do.
Live by the tweet and die by the tweet. Well, thank you for answering my first question. It is, how has Aiko been doing? Checking in with our newest player. And yeah, he's had some good Genji performances, but hasn't been on the same level necessarily yet, as we did see at a Saipei. But you saw there play the game and many great plays on his off tanks there. Well, and so let's just go down some of my notes. So the first two maps, pretty close. My notes are a little bit more complex. And then I've got Gardens, Mangachu, University, Grim Reality. And then the final one there, Jump Pad. That's the only note I have.
Yeah,
Jump Pad.
I don't think I've heard
Castle.
that many of the Jump Pad. I am now intimately knowing of what the Jump Pad sound effect is in ways I never wanted to.
Sherlocky did a really good job of shutting down the tracers who were coming after him. I think even towards the end there, you saw him scoping in.
Yeah.
And when a tracer doesn't want to go after an Ana, you've already won that fight, but then she's not going after the rest of the team, hitting a lot of those scope shots.
Well, listen, not only hitting the tracer, but you're taking care of her friends, and you're leaving examples, really, of here's what's going to happen next time you go in on me. It's not going to be pretty.
Right.
Yeah, it was a team effort in that case because, yeah, Jesus, Aiko, Mangachu, they all contributed there in the end to the second point for Renegades as we're going into map number 4. And the question we all had at the beginning was, does Renegades have that staying power coming into it? Looks like Gibraltar is going to be the next map for us, and it's going to be, well, Renegades are hoping the final map. Immortals, they want to test this staying power a little. Do we think they have what it takes?
Well, we'll have to see. I'm kind of reminded of the Seinfeld episode where they're in the car seeing just how long they can go without gas, and Renegades right now just holding on for dear life because, again, I'm saying this half tongue-in-cheek. We don't really know if they have a problem here, but we've had enough warning signs now that if they come back, or rather, if Immortals comes back and is able to take this away from Renegades, it starts becoming indisputable that Renegades has lasting problems. So for Renegades, I hope that they sort of slay that demon here and they finish out strong. Because if they do end up losing in 5, well, the precedent has been basically verified at that point.
I think we're going to 5. Gibraltar's been a map that's been very kind to Immortals lately. They seem to have a strategy on it. It's this hybrid strategy as well, where they will play a little aggressively, a little more aggressive than they used to anyway. But they've been good on Gibraltar for a while. Renegades needs to close it out. If we go to 5, it might be trouble for them too. We'll see. I'm kind of in the same camp as ZP where I don't know if I believe it yet, but it has been a couple times where as the games have gone on, it's been a noticeable dip in their play.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about, because here's the thing. I really, part of me wants that meme to come true of the 5-hour energy Renegades, but part of me also wants to, well, let's just talk through the options here, because if Immortals is able to pick up victory here, do you have a final meme to add?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I was going to say, well, in that case, it's 5-hour energy because they only have energy for 5 hours and then it's done.
Yes, I'm glad I let that through. No, but anyway, if Immortals is able to pick up victory here on Watch Point Gibraltar, then the map selection could be the key coming into the 5th map. Have we seen Immortal? I mean, I think the last time we saw Immortals on Hollywood, it was not a good showing, but it was against LG Evil. Do you think that I mean, is it even more of an uphill battle since they would have to not pick the 5th map?
Well, it would be really interesting because Renegades has also had their struggles on Eichenwald. So you would imagine that if Renegades has the map choice for 5, that we would go to Hollywood. But there also is just a notion that teams just don't like playing Hollywood lately. It's enough that while it would make all the sense in the world, Immortal struggles in Hollywood, Renegades not so much. Renegade struggles in Eichenwald, Immortals not so much. You might just see Eichenwald.
I think there's enough evidence there that, I mean, it's interesting. You do bring up the point we haven't seen as much Hollywood, but there's so much evidence there that Hollywood would be good in this case that I feel like it'd be a good choice. But then again, we do have also the stat where teams have just been bad on maps that they've been preferring the entire time. So teams don't really know what they're doing in regards to maps that they're picking, at least in the home series of maps where the home team has actually lost significantly more than the away team. So
yeah, Blizzard is just rolling those dice behind the scenes. You know, alrighty, what map are they going to be good at this time? If they had any control over that, well, certainly the control is in Renegade's favor right now as they've got a lot of momentum coming into Watch Point Gibraltar. As our local weatherman ZP has pointed out, the very, very sunny Gibraltar. Take it away, gentlemen, for the 4th map.
I retired as a weatherman. I read a teleprompter wrong. Someone sabotaged it, and I might have insulted an entire city.
Well, you know, San Diego had it coming. I completely agree with you on that one. Also, weatherman, you have to be somewhat accurate. Casting, as long as you sound confident, you have to know what you're doing. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Let's see. Always sunny in Gibraltar here as we roll out. Now, the one thing I was mentioning is that Immortals, of course, they're on attack here. On defense, they've tried to play a little bit more aggressively. They're trying to adopt the new young gun style, which, of course, Renegades has made famous of being very aggressive on defenses, whether on first or at spawns. We'll see if that ends up coming out. But they are in the attack first. I do believe we probably will see a 3-2-1 composition, with the one very likely being Grim Realities, or Grim Reality, rather. Agilities would be on the off tank. That is what they're queued up in now. On the other side, defensively, that is locked in. They are definitely running a 3-2-1. Jesus, notably on the Diva, where Mangachu is going to be the single DPS.
Well, this is going to be interesting for sure to see how this works out on the defense. And again, Mangachu's Soldier has not been particularly great. And think back to last time we saw Renegades here on Gibraltar. Well, LG Evil, if you look around, you can still see the stains of Renegades' bodies on the walls here in Gibraltar. Cleaning crew is good, but they're not that good. Renegades got wrecked the last time. And we'll see if they fix some of their mistakes here as Immortals. We'll see if they pull the LG Evil playbook.
Well, Renegades had notions of holding further up. They do back up and holding on very safe spots. Now the server room is taken over, infested now by the Immortals as they roll in here. They have to get out there, but Nomi going down early means that they can't push that front line. They have to be very careful. Mangachu eats a Helix, does not live to tell the tale, as Hyped will clean them up. However, they've lost 2 of their own, so this push is going to wait for more reinforcements, about equidistance from where they want to be spawn-wise to where the fight is happening, so no great advantage either side.
The interesting thing is that it's still a pretty good omen here for Immortals at the very least. I don't think Mangachu is covering himself in glory on the 76 right now, and Grim taking down Juvenile. Juvenile caught off guard. Now a 6v4 opportunity.
Oh, what was that?
That was the padded Soldier 76 shoulder tackle. It's not very effective.
Did not work out very well. Grim Reality takes over Mangachu's lease on the upper half of the building there. Gonna go forward, try to get some of these split spawns, but that's it. That was the Renegades defense. You mentioned Mangachu not covering himself in glory. That's a nice way to put it.
Well, he also did not learn that a gun is better than a shoulder tackle, because that doesn't even do any damage unless you're Reinhardt, so...
Mangachu down yet again as Agilities finds the finishing blow there. They are rolling through this so far, negating to take the high ground because it doesn't matter. They're just taking the low ground, taking all the free push, although only 1x on that payload, so they could be getting a little more done there, although pro teams generally would rather just win another fight than put 3x on the cart. Getting the free poke through here as the spawns come in. Going to be very difficult for Renegades to reestablish. They have to throw ults at this.
And Renegades is going to try and reestablish Mangachu somehow through persistence and many deaths. Is going to have Tactical Visor up here in just a moment. Won't need to use it here because it's a nice Earth Shatter by Juvenile to at least reset the stage and give Renegades a chance of getting this defense here, but in hangar. Do have a member of Immortals still back here. It's Grim Reality who says, I don't see a reason to move. Well, he's probably going to have about 4 or 5 reasons, and they're coming up the staircase right now. In fact, he's already down. Juvenile was able to take him out. So that's going to take care of that, and we'll see if Renegades can come up with a better hangar defense. Certainly, Tac Visor are going to help them out in that endeavor.
Well, they've got themselves in a much better position now. You really just can't lose that very first fight into shuttle phase of Gibraltar, as things will snowball out of control from there. Now they're in the defense where you want to be. The door is closed behind them. Mangachu dies early to Grim, though, on his entry. A Graviton comes in, not cleaning it up just yet. So
the Helix rocket did not agree with Mangachu here, and here come Immortals. They're going to bust right through that shield. Grim's Tac Visor is active right now. Doesn't get too much of anything, but towards the end he is able to take Diva out of it. But now, counter-attack Visor coming from Mangachu. Let's see how he does when the game aims for him. Does take down Zarya, gets a double kill, but still eats Grim Reality's rocket. He must really love the taste of these rockets because he keeps coming back for more.
It's as if he sent out a rocket homing pigeon and it's always coming back to him. He has taken a lot of those Helix rockets from his counterpart in Grim, who is simply having the better game overall. They're trying to pressure Grim, but only half-heartedly as they have to get down onto the cart. Mangachu will come back, takes down Athan. A couple of kills here for Renegades, not out of this yet.
No, and Grim Reality's still having the time of his life up here.
No.
What is this? It's the soldier mating dance? Like, I don't understand these soldier v soldier setups. Grim is just sitting there shooting the gun as Mangachu, I mean, is trying to seduce him or so. I don't know what's going on.
It's kind of working. Grim will come up over top with the rest of his team. Hyped is going to give him the cover he needs as Diva. This is where Renegades can get dangerous, is when they start being more aggressive, where they make you fight for every single doorway. Had to fight to just get in there. Now they're going to have to rotate through room, going to have to fight for room. Juvenile is going to come in. Mangachu aggressive. Soundbarrier comes down. Both Reinhardt's down.
Grim has attack visor up here again, but Ethan dies to Jesus early on. The flanking here from Renegades working out that room, turning into a party room of death.
Ico.
As Grim having to back out. So the 76 play has been a little bit suspect for Renegades, but the rest of it has been very much on point. Juvenile has had some very good Earth Shatters, and really just Jesus and Ico coming in there on all angles, able to stop things out here. And I was going to say, do we need a pause? But it looks like the freeze might have been on our end.
I think he just wanted to take a little bit of a breather, try to get his dance moves put together for next time he meets up with Grim Reality, see how that one turns out for him. Grim will have Tactical Visor, but this is the position we've seen 76ers simply own Gibraltar on top of the shuttle, no one in front of him. Attack Visor coming in from Grim.
Oh, but the Diva self-destruct of Jesus catches the Immortals completely off guard there towards the very end. And that is all sorts of difficult, to say the least. Grim's still gonna go up here, and I mean, Grim's been remarkably resilient in dealing with all this. It's really just, we're gonna get a replay of this. Take a look.
Well, this is the attack visor, and then over the top.
Boom. Grim's just like, glad I wasn't in there.
Well, here comes another boosted visor onto Mangachu this time. He takes down Hype, takes down Verbo, looking for more, finds a Reinhardt, able to kill him before he gets into the wall. That's his good buddy Ico looking out for him. 4 kills for Renegades as the defense has surely solidified. Grim comes in, takes down Mangachu as is tradition at this point, but not going to be enough to grab the point. I love that Renegades is playing this as far forward as they are. 30 seconds left, CP.
30 seconds left. Mangachu giving respects to Senpai. I don't really know what's going on here, but regardless, the rest of Renegades has definitely been carrying the slack, and Immortals has really found it difficult to get a good initiation here. Juvenile drops the Earth Shatter. Don't know if he got much, but he got Ethan, and that might be enough. The healing not going to be there. Mangachu, though, drops the Grim Reality now into Winston, switching up the punishing of Grim Reality, or Mangachu's 76, I suppose.
Well, in a long relationship like that, you have to keep things fresh. Sometimes you throw in a Winston just for good measure. Last fight now happening as Agilities does get a hook onto Hype, unable to finish him just yet. It's going to have to go deep. That barrier comes down. Self-destruct takes down Grim as Jesus and Mangachu now pile on. Mangachu has switched over to Reaper because it's life sustainability and wants to counter that Winston who's after him. Still not over as Immortals continues the push on the back of their tanks.
Immortals staying in this despite the self-destruct heroics. Mangachu able to take down Roadhog here, just rolling around as Reaper, having a lot more success already than what he was doing on 76. Sans ultimates. But here comes the Sound Bearer out from Immortals, looking to keep this moving forward. Renegades coming back in here. Mangachu back onto payload, and there's another nice Earth Shatter in from Juvenile. Gonna be knocking down 3, setting up Jesus. And the tank play of Renegades being the iron wall of which Immortals cannot breach right now. They're throwing everything at it. Ico moving in here, does take down 2. The Sound Barrier, might it be enough finally for the side? We'll see.
You'd have to assume so. It has been all blue in the kill feed as Renegades looks to deny second point. They do just that. And what was a wonky shuttle phase between Grim and Mangachu, surely, but beyond all that, some nice self-destructs from Jesus, who's not necessarily known for his Devo play.
It has been a long night, but let me just say, the craziness continues. Despite the 76 play not going super well for Mangachu, it really was just Renegade showing up on all levels, both the tank play and then even Ico at the very end, saving lives as Tracer. Big self-destructs from Jesus, and I mean, for Immortals, it's sort of the reverse, right? Where Grim Reality was being highly consistent, but the rest of his team, Nomi, Hyped, Agilities, all having real trouble in their respective matchups, getting anything done going through Hangar. And now, for Renegades, a brilliant opportunity to end the series right now here in Gibraltar. And you take a look, Mangachu's not going to be in the 76 this time. He's going to be going Farah. That definitely bodes pretty well for Renegades.
It is his best hero. I don't think anyone would argue with that. And you mentioned Ico saving lives on Tracer, which he did at the very end. Most of that game, he was on Zarya, and he saved lives not only with allied shields, which you're expected to, but there were a couple charges that if the Reinhardt doesn't get beamed down by Zarya, connects with a wall and takes out things, and that fight swings a different way. So Ico has been very good for this Renegades team tonight. Again, I don't think his Genji play was at the same level as Saipe's, but his pool seems to be overall stronger. I think his Zarya has been very good to watch. He is at the moment on a Hanzo. Settle down there, all you Katnisses out there. He will not be playing that Hanzo. That is just for a Sonic Arrow, just to check where the other team is. Gets a little bit of intel as Hyped is poking around up front, trying to do a little bit of things. This is something Immortals has tried. It is a risky gambit.
Make the dream happen, Ico. Unleash your inner old school vintage Tavik.
Unleash your Turok.
Wait. He goes for Sankaro the check. No.
Wow. Well, Tavik has played Zarya before, once or twice, so maybe he's misinterpreted it. A couple of kills right away. Jesus and Juvenile started off. Sherlocky does go down from Hyped. Hyped bringing it back for his team on the aggressive Tracer.
And of course, we have seen Immortals be very aggressive in trying to play Gibraltar like this, but it's not quite as effective as one. Hype, though, picking off another, suddenly as Tracer, kicking it up to a new gear, perhaps. But they're going to need that and more to really hold back Renegades here.
I mean, that was about as perfect as a clip you'll ever land, Tracer v Tracer, just deleting his counterpart there. However, they have given up a lot of push. They do want to fight up here. Agility's taking down Mangachu. Defense holding strong. This aggressive posture from Immortals working out.
And they are able to bring it back in force. Respawns come back in, and a lot does have to do with Hype, just finding his opportunities and coming out with a DPS option that really Immortals hasn't been able to rely on anywhere near as much, but they are comfortable with this very opening phase here on Gibraltar. It's something they've practiced quite a bit, and Renegades, now they're working out for them. They did, of course, swap Mangachu to the Roadhog. They're not running the fair anymore. They're just hoping for some control to this multi-flanker defense.
This can end up going bad for Immortals. They have to know when it has gone bad and then reset up a defense. They cannot throw good money after bad here and end up getting rolled over. A nade goes down onto Sherlocky. He will fall yet again, but that is two tanks in the car wash that go down, Agilities and Nomi. Mangachu will give his life for it. A 4v4 Grim Reality about to have this tactical visor.
I feel like Grim has just lived forever, but Hype, the Pulse Bomb, takes down two.
See,
where has this Hyped been all my life?
No, it's because we didn't ask where this Hyped has been in the OCS broadcast, which is why he was hiding it from us. It is our reverse curse. Every time we question someone's ability on a hero, they show us that we're absolutely wrong. Happy to be wrong, though, sometimes, because Hyped is playing out of his mind.
Well,
this defense looking very strong.
Mangachu didn't get that memo last round.
He did not. Grim Reality with the tactical visor, looking for a little bit of a cheeky flank. I think you should wait. I think you don't want to go all the way back here, but you will take this kind of secondary top. You'd like them to drop down, actually. He's going to wait for the information from his team. There's the rotation. They are in server room, but that's not where 76 thrives. Jesus will take down the terror that has been hyped. Grim still patient. Here it is.
Attack visor in from the back. Perfect vision here for Grim. Gonna take down one to start with. Looking for a second, and actually not able to get the second right away. Did plenty of damage, but it was spread out. People were breaking his last sight, and
yeah, but look at this push. Yeah, he's got to go down there now because they gave up too much free push. Now they're going to be looking for the split spawns. I don't believe they got any. Didn't hit the split spawn lottery, but they will be able to take top point. Mangachu takes down Verbo. That's a nice kill to start things out. Hype still messing around in the backline. Has to be a little bit careful. Can't give up his life.
Well, remember, the power of Renegade's defense here is that they don't have to bring this even all the way through second. They're very close to the yellow box of victory and ending Immortals right here, right now. Arguably one fight away. Grauton coming in from Ico. Is the fall through going to be there? Juvenile going in. Oh, the saving Earth Shatter, knocking down three. The fall through not immediately going to be there, but still they lose him to a pulse bomb that happened right before the Earth Shatter, and they're still going to lose that fight. So Renegades, the path is clear. Immortals, what can you do to bring this back? Can they stall it out? You have a Tracer coming in and Hype. Hype has been the man of miracles here in this round so far. Throws out the pulse bomb, gets nothing for it. Sound barrier already done. 1-1 here on the kills. Mangachu, 8 HP, not able to make a miracle happen towards the very end. So Immortals, they are able to stall out, get back onto the payload, and push back Renegades. But Renegades still has 2.5 minutes to make this happen, and very little room to go.
Not quite over yet. Juvenile will take down 8th and lay the theory behind that fight was to boost Juvenile and let him swing the hammer on the cart. That way, anyone foolish enough to try to impede the progress of Renegades would be hammered down. Verbo did a great job of dancing around that hammer, did not let them get any more push because everyone else was off the cart at that point in time. However, as we reset here, a little over 2 minutes left for Renegades to get that yellow box of victory and close out the series. Juvenile has Earthshatter, and they're going to use a Whole Hog very early in this fight. Not getting much, does crack a shield.
I think in this case, Immortals wants as much space as possible as Grim on the shuttle immediately gets rid of Mangachu. This is a great spot for a skilled soldier to be in. Renegades needs to come up with an answer this sooner rather than later. I actually would like to see a diva here.
Is the answer dancing around below him as Lucio?
No.
Oh, then Jur was wrong.
Well, you had to try something.
Grim is still on this jolly. He's definitely the problem. They need to switch to perhaps a Diva or a Winston, something to dislodge him from up here, but they look like they just want to take the fight below. Hype takes out his counterpart in Jesus.
Grim, he's built up another tac visor. Now as Renegades is trying to turn this ground war in their way. Hype and Nomi are out. Grim Reality still has the key to turn this back around. Tac visor in over the top, but he's getting poked down. It's not going to be enough. Renegades now on the payload. They do it! Renegades finishing off Immortals, finishing off the hangar phase. There will be no map 5 disappointment for Renegades here tonight. They will sleep well.
They will, and perhaps well-deserved, a late night for them. Of course, thank you to Immortals and Renegades for even playing this game as we had to reschedule. Renegades showed up strong. That's the Renegades that we had questions about. Is this a team that can actually compete with LG Evil? Juvenile, you know, we call them a hit or miss. A lot more hits tonight.
Juvenile was playing well, and Juvenile is someone where you look back to earlier weeks 1 and 2, there are definitely points where he did not quite show up anywhere near as heavily, had more questionable charges, but the questionable charges were less, the big payoffs were more. That's improvement, and clearly has shown up to some degree in Renegades play.
I think part of that is credit to Aiko, though, because Aiko's Zarya allows him to be that much more charging and a lot more confident that he's going to get the bubble, because you don't get the bubble, you're dead, and you know it, and it looks bad from your end, but having the confidence in your Zarya, rather, allows you to play more aggressive. It suits his style a lot better.
One thing that I think is really worth noting here, just because it is the do or die thing for Renegades, is that Renegades in a lot of compositions, they throw all their support behind Mangachu, and if he fails, they fail. Well, when Mangachu is on the 76, he's more a Lone Ranger, and obviously that was not exactly a textbook for what to do as a 76. But the point is that when Renegades is left to their own devices and they can work around, they were still able to win fights despite the clear mismatch between Grim and Mangachu. So yeah, it does bring to light the idea for Renegades where I wonder, even when they're doing well and focusing everything around Mangachu, I wonder if a more balanced approach would actually serve the team more.
They've definitely proven they're more than Mangachu +5.
Yes.
Yes, and I think Jesus is maybe where you start that story. Yeah. We saw him, I call it a boom of a different color. We've seen him a lot on Pulse Bombs today, but we saw some self-destructs there that actually struck pay dirt. Why were they on Diva, first of all, and how did Jesus make that work?
Second stage Gibraltar, you have to have someone to deal with the shuttle, whether that's a Winston or otherwise you have to roll your whole team around, jump on boxes, get up. It's much easier just to send someone up there and knock people off, which is what she's always been good at.
The other thing about the way that Gibraltar is laid out is that there's definitely dead zones there where there's just nowhere to run as the self-destruct comes in. There's more so than other maps, particularly in the middle, there's just points where as a slower character, you can't actually get away from the self-destruct in time. So it's not like people are seeing, oh, it's a self-destruct, I'm just going to ignore it. No, he placed them and timed them in places where there was nothing to do but get 2 or 3 kills with how the offense was trying to move in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We like to see those like 5Ks, you know, in just perfectly launched over. But realistically, these are the self-destructs that have the most impact because you can do them more consistently, and it's still going to win you those team fights as long as the other things are happening. Which, in this case, Renegades, no one was really a weak point for them. In this one. I do have only one other thought on this game specifically. So at the end there, Immortals are pushing in. They almost get to the very end, and they lose the fight. And this is what OCS has taught me. Look for the back caps the whole time. I'm like, where's the Tracer? Where's Hyped? You know what's going on here? Didn't happen this time, and I feel much better about this this match. It was 3-0 for Renegades. They've given themselves a little bit of a cushion in the series now, especially because both Complexity and Immortals lost today. And so they're both 3 and 4. coming into the final day tomorrow.
Not so clear at the bottom anymore. With Complexity and Immortals both losing, Liquid pulls something off. LG Loyal, granted, they're now with the worst record, I believe, in the league, but have played everyone super close, have a lot of map wins. So even though we thought it was going to be very close at the top, it does seem like the teams that we thought were going to play their way out of it tonight are back in it.
I will say that Immortals probably looks back to week 1 and losing to LG Loyal when LG Loyal has been unable to pull off a win against the other team. They probably look back and think, yeah, we'd like that one back.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's take a look at the standings then. I mean, LG Evil 8-0, and then if you go all the way at the bottom, it's Team Liquid 1-7, and in the middle, it is starting to become a little bit more muddled. Renegades, they're 5-2 right now. They are going to be facing off against Immortals again tomorrow night, and that actually has to. I mean, it has to scare you if you're Immortals a little bit because you're 3-4. Tied with Complexity right now, but Complexity, they've got a little bit of an easier run. So they're going to be playing against LG Loyal tomorrow. And if I was a betting man, I mean, and I've become not a betting man because of a lot of stuff that's been happening in OCS. But Complexity, they definitely are poised to pass them up potentially tomorrow. Renegades, they still have their cushion at 5-2, but that could be upset potentially by Immortals coming in tomorrow. LG Loyal, they are 1-6. They have to win tomorrow. Team Liquid, they had to win tonight. Now they're going to be playing spoiler the rest of the event. Still alive. But yeah, and then I guess those are tomorrow's matches. Do we have which one of those matches? I guess are you most excited for after today?
I wasn't really following all of that. But
is it late? Is that what you're saying?
I would say anything with Team Liquid because I do enjoy the sort of, we're playing spoiler. We probably can't win anything now, but we really want to try. And if we can ruin your team's season, we're coming for you.
Isn't it possible to get into the 4th seed if they run the table?
Team Liquid?
Yeah.
Not Team Liquid, no. Because let's actually look at the schedule. But because they would be tied with Immortals, and Immortals has the head-to-head. But there it is, tomorrow's Renegades versus Immortals. And honestly, if coming into today, that was the matchup I wanted to watch. But, I mean, after a 3-0 with one draw, I'm maybe Complexity versus LG Loyal is going to be a better match as well.
Well, Renegades may have secured their spot in the playoffs overall, but they want to hold on to that 2nd seed with dear life because, again, the worst seed you could have is having to face LG Evil, who has been unbeaten in this tournament. That would be the 4th spot. So being 2 or 3 would be great. Renegades beating Immortals pretty much solidifies their spot into either 2 or 3.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because the next week, since that 1st place spot is pretty much solidified, well, we're going to know again tomorrow just how hard it would be to get into 2nd based on how Immortals and Renegades goes. That 3rd and 4th bout is going to be happening next week. Well, I'll tell you, next week is coming, but coming even sooner is tomorrow night. And thank you all for staying with us through this very long stream. It's not nearly as much as like an all-day Saturday affair, but when you're doing it 3 nights a week, going this late can be taxing. Thanks to all the players, the fans that stayed with us. I'd also like to make sure everyone's following us on social media, at Game Carbon on Twitter, and then, of course, here on Twitch. And pretty much everywhere else we're Carbon Entertainment. Check out carbon.gg/OCS for schedule, updates, team profiles, etc. And other than that, I hope we'll see you all tomorrow night as the Overwatch Carbon series resumes at 5:15 PST for Renegades versus Immortals Part 2. We'll see you all tomorrow night.
Zoning him out. Juvenile, very hit or miss in his Earth Shadow, trying to set one up.
Well, he's looking for the turn, and it's a big hit. It's a home run, in fact. 5 people knocked down. And yet, for reality, stopping him in his tracks. But Mangachu with the immediate revenge. Taking down 2 comes in from Renegades, but is poorly thought out. And he was trying to protect Mangachu.
Agilities goes in for the hook, does end up grabbing Juvenile there. This is cart time, but look at this. They have 2 minutes to push, not even in overtime.